KSFO Radio, San Francisco.
University Stadium here in the Crescent City of New Orleans. This is Bob Reynolds with Tom Hedrick and CBS's coverage of the 4th World Professional Football Championship game, the Super Bowl. Our broadcast is sponsored in part by STP Oil and Gas Treatment, your Ford Motor Company, by Kent Cigarettes, and Shell Gasoline. It's the American League champion Kansas City Chiefs with their diversified attack and strong defense against the basic and simple attack of the Minnesota Vikings of the National Football League, and a defense which lays claim to being football's finest. Of course, some things to be proven by both sides today. This one is pro football's 7th game of the World Series, the Stanley Cup Finals, the Masters, the U.S. Open, the British Open, the PGA titles, all up for grabs in one afternoon. This is it. There is no tomorrow now, no more divisional titles, no more playoffs. The winner today takes it all home. The coveted championship of the world, the $15,000 a man that is the winner's share, and the opportunities to cash in on the success with endorsements and off-season appearances that can make it permanently for some of these top-flight performers. With so much pressure involved, you wonder what kind of a game to expect. For let me not kid you a bit, this isn't just another game for these two teams, pros that they are, because they feel the haul and the tug of it like you wouldn't believe. There are many things going in this one. The separate identities of the two leagues, for one thing. Next year, there will be no American Football League, just an American Conference and a National Conference of the National Football League. And this game will be for the National Football League Championship next year. And the Chiefs, naturally, would like very much to wrap up play in their league with a victory here today. They have been this route before, of course, as you know. Coach Hank Stram's Chiefs were in the first Super Bowl in Miami, where they gave the Green Bay Packers plenty of first-half problems before losing it 35-10. Well, 7 of the offensive starters in that one are back starting for Kansas City today, and 4 of the defensive team are also in the starting lineup. As for Minnesota, well, the Vikes are actually the less experienced of these two clubs in this kind of competition. They became the first expansion team in the National Football League to make it this far this year. The Chiefs, 10 years old. The Vikings, 9. But then there are so many analytical aspects to this one that it would take all afternoon to explain them. And we'll bring more color and lineups in just a moment.
From ski country at Stowe, Vermont, here's Shell's Answer Man.
All right. Since it's 10 degrees here today, it's a good time to answer this question. What's a good way to try starting a car in cold weather? Well, it's quite simple. Just push the accelerator all the way to the floor. Hold it there long enough to say Super Shell, then take your foot all the way off the pedal and turn over the starter. Now, I really mean that. You see, pushing the accelerator all the way down for about a second delivers just the right jolt of fresh gasoline to the carburetor and sets your car's automatic choke. And it takes just about a second to say Super Shell. Of course, you could say something else while you're pushing down the accelerator, but as a favor to me, say Super Shell. Next question?
Do slow starts in winter hurt mileage?
You bet they do. That's one reason why in cold weather, we blend extra quick start ingredient into Super Shell.
Thank you. The Answer Man is brought to you by Super Shell, good mileage gasoline. It goes a long way.
Let's go down and pick up, before this ball game on, we've got some great pre-game festivities. And, of course, you probably can recognize the horn. There's none other like it, Mr. Al Hurt. Let's get down and have a look. We mentioned Mr. Al Hurt, representing the National Football League, and down there tooting along with him, and representing the American Football League, the great Doc Severinsen. And a little bit of New Orleans Bourbon Street right here in Tulane Stadium, as Al Hurt and Doc Severinsen entertain, and in the background the Southern University Marching Band, all part of the pregame festivities here in this, the 1969 Super Bowl game. Weather-wise, and I know you're interested in that, the temperature at game time here is 61 degrees. Our weather forecast, hang on to your hat. There is a tornado alert here in the area. And we are expecting hail and damaging winds up until 6 o'clock tonight. And so if Tom Hedrick and I disappear, well, you'll just know what happened. However, at the moment, skies are simply overcast. The wind is out of the southwest at about 15 miles an hour. And in just a few moments, both of these subs will come out of the field, and this football game will get underway. We're talking about the weather and the rain. Heavy rain pelted the New Orleans area throughout the night and in the early morning. The field was covered up until 12 o'clock, but there were a couple of holes in the tarp, and it's a little bit slippery, and this crowd began moving in here about 2 hours before game time, and as we mentioned, it's the largest crowd ever to see a Super Bowl game, and in addition, press credentials issued to 1,311 members of the media, press, radio, and television, and that's the largest coverage ever for this type of a football game, and they are all here. Tom, we mentioned in introducing you earlier on the broadcast, this is your third Super Bowl assignment, and I know that you're as excited about this one as you were over your first one. I also know that our producer from CBS, George Perkins, had some foresight in this one because for the past several years, 6 years, you have been handling the Kansas City Chiefs, and George has had to know that it was going to be Kansas City here today, and I'd like to have you tell us a little bit about this Kansas City Chiefs team. To do that, Bob, this ball club has been noted for its defense. It led the American Football League in 17 to 24 statistical categories. You've heard a lot about the four horsemen of the Minnesota Vikings, but Kansas City's got an equally fine front four. They're led by Buck Buchanan, 4 times All-AFL. He's 6'7", 275. The veteran left end, Gary Mays. The fine young right end, Aaron Brown, is much like his former college teammate, Carl Eller. And a vastly improved left tackle in Curly Coe. When Kansas City came to the Super Bowl 3 years ago, they were weak at cornerback and linebacker. Now, Bobby Bell is one of the returning defensive starters, one of 4 coming back. But Kansas City's improved tremendously at middle linebacker, led by Willie Lanier. His teammates call him Honey Bear. He's built like a bear and a fine hitter. On the right side, they've got Jim Lynch, formerly of Notre Dame. There was one man that Kansas City was really concerned about and had been all week. That's Johnny Robinson. Johnny will start today. He told us we'd go the route. What he did is he tore a cartilage in his rib in Sunday's AFL championship game against Oakland, and he'll be able to go all the way today because of an anesthetic. They said they'll shoot him before the game and then again at halftime. But where Kansas City is so much better defensively would have to be at cornerback, led by Jim Marcellus. They have thrown only 3 touchdowns over him all year. Offensively, Bob, this ball club has fought a lot of adversity, as Coach Hank Stram has said. They lost number 1 quarterback Lenny Dawson for 6 ball games with a knee operation. They were talking about it. They didn't operate because Lenny made a decision after 2 days in the hospital. He made the comment to his coach. He said, I have a feeling this is going to be the year of the Kansas City Chiefs, and I want to be a part of it. Now, he said that after the Chiefs had won no less than 6 preseason games, 4 against the National Football League opponents. Now, in that particular preseason exhibition, Kansas City did very well. They knocked off the Rams. They defeated an outstanding ball club, the St. Louis Football Cardinals. They defeated Detroit, the ball game that you and I both covered, and the Atlanta Falcons. He felt that the ball club had gotten a lot of momentum. But the big difference has been, I think, Kansas City's defense. Let's take a look at the offensive starters for Kansas City. First of all, it's the split receiver on the left side, Frank Pitts, 6'2", 199, a fifth-year pro from Southern. At left tackle, Jim Tyers, 6'6", 265, a ninth-year pro from Ohio State. Left guard for Kansas City, Ed Buddy, 6'5", 260, a seventh-year man from Michigan State. The center, E.J. Hollow, the ninth-year pro from Texas Tech, 6'4", 236. At right guard is going to be Mo Mormon, 6'4", 252. At right tackle, Dave Hill, 6'5", 260. He'll be picking up Carl Eller. He is 6'5", and 260. The tight end to be played by Fred Urbana, 6'3", and 245 pounds from Michigan State. The quarterback in his 13th year, Len Dawson. He's led the AFL 4 times in passing, a 6-footer weighing 190. The fullback is Bobby Holmes at 5'9", 220 pounds from Southern. His band just performed 128 of what they call the Cougars. The other running back is a mini back, also in Mike Garrett, the former Heisman Trophy winner from Southern Cal. He is 5'9", 190 in his 4th year from the University of Southern California. And the wide receiver is Otis Taylor, 6'3", 215 for Prairie View. Okay, Tom, the Minnesota Vikings now and their lineup. They were introduced in the crowd. The offensive team is being introduced now. The wide receivers, Gene Washington, number 84. Fine, one of the best in the league. Played his college ball at Michigan State. Will be one of the wide receivers, number 84. John Henderson, number 80, who played his ball at the University of Michigan, will be the other wide receiver. To the tight end, John Beasley, 6'3", 233, 3-year veteran from California. In the backfield, Joe Kapp, the quarterback. Needs to stay more. And the running backs will be number 41, Dave Osborne from North Dakota, and number 30, Bill Brown from Illinois. Along the line, the veteran Grady Alderman and Ron Yary, the second-year man from Southern Cal, will man the tackle spot. Grady Alderman, a 10-year veteran. At the guards for Minnesota, Jim Malone, number 63, and Milt Sunday, number 64. And at center, the All-Pro from Nebraska, number 53, Mick Tinglehall. Defensively, leading the Purple People Eaters, as they like to be called, at defensive end on the left side, number 81, Paul Eller, who played his college ball at Minnesota. At defensive tackle alongside of him, number 77, Gary Larson, who played at Concordia. Number 88, the other defensive tackle, Alan Page, a 3-year man from Notre Dame. And at the other defensive end spot, the veteran Jim Marshall, a 10-year man who played his college ball at Ohio State. The linebacking core for the Minnesota Vikings, number 60, Roy Winston from LSU. At the middle linebacking spot, number 59, Lonnie Wowick. And at the right linebacking post, Wally Hilgenberg, who played at Iowa. The left cornerback for the Vikings, the veteran Herschel McBee, number 46. At the right corner spot will be Ed Sherrockman, number 45. At the left safety, number 29, Carl Kaselke from Drake. And at the right safety spot, Paul Krause from Iowa. So there you have the offensive and the defensive alignments of the Minnesota Vikings. We have also been introduced to the Kansas City Chiefs, and now coming out of their tunnel to our right, the remainder of the Kansas City squad. Coming over to the bench, they will have the bench immediately below us here on the west side of this Tulane Stadium, which runs playing field-wise north and south. The Minnesota Vikings across the way. Kansas City, which lost to Green Bay 35-10 in the first Super Bowl, defeated Oakland in the championship game, as you know, last Sunday. And Minnesota, the first of the expansion teams ever to win the NFL title, beat Cleveland in the championship game also last Sunday, 27-7. Coach Hank Stram's Chiefs, a regular season record of 11-3. Stram, of course, the only head coach in the American Football League who has held that same job since the league was formed back in 1960. And Coach Bud Grant, in his third season, his loss to the Vikings, directed Minnesota to a 12-2. The Vikings lost their first and lost their last. The Super Bowl receipts here will amount, and it's interesting, I think, to approximately $3,700,000, with $2,500,000 coming from the TV and the radio rights, and $1.2 million from the gate sale. The participating players and the players' benefit plans, of course, will receive approximately 2/3 of the overall receipts after expenses. The winning players today, $15,000 apiece, and the losers, $7,500. Now in the center of the field, the captains representing the Minnesota Vikings and the Kansas City Chiefs are meeting with the officials who will handle this ball game. We're having the toss of the coin. The Minnesota Vikings won the toss. They will receive at the north end of the stadium. Kansas City will kick off to them and defend the goal to our right. The officials here today, we'll tell you about them in a moment. We'll be back with the opening kickoff shortly. What a good time. What a good time. What a good time for a can. Catching sunbeams or dodging raindrops, looking for rainbows high on a hilltop. Suspended in space, the top of the world is our special place where we play. What a good time. The good taste of Kent was meant for a day like today.
Were good times invented for the good taste of Kent, or was it the other way around? All we know is wherever the good times are, millions of smokers are thinking, hey, what a good time for a Kent.
What a good time for a Kent. Back at Tulane Stadium here in New Orleans, this is Bob Reynolds along with Ted Hedrick. And down on the field as we get ready to start this football game, among the many well-known personalities attending, the Apollo 11 moon astronauts, Pete Conrad, Al Bean, and Dick Gordon.
and they are now moving out into the center of the field around the 15-yard line on the south side, where they will be presented memberships in the National Football League Players Association. The presentation being made to the three astronauts, making them life members. The Minnesota Vikings receiving team is lined up along the 40-yard line. The kickoff team is the Kansas City Chiefs to the right. And as the presentation is being made to the three astronauts, the university band behind playing in the background from Southern University. The only moon men in the whole wide world are from the United States of America. And what a hand they get, and deservingly so. As we mentioned, the Minnesota Vikings won the toss, and they will receive. And that means that Jan Stenerud will be doing the kicking off. Doc Severinsen now, and Pat O'Brien, and the band and chorus from Southern University will present the national anthem. Reciting the words to the national anthem played by Doc Severinsen with the Southern University band of chorus in the background, and the rockets bursting on high, and 3,000 doves released here to fly over the stadium. We are just about ready to get this one underway, and we are happy that CBS is able to send it to our armed forces overseas. And we hope soon that all of them will be back in the land of the free to enjoy these spectacles here such as we have today. And now ready to bring you all the action as the Minnesota Vikings get set to receive the kickoff. The voice of the Chiefs, Tom Hedrick. Thank you, Bob. And kicking off for Kansas City is Jan Stenerud. He'll be kicking from the 40-yard line, and two deep men for the Minnesota Vikings, 2 yards deep across the end line, are Clinton Jones, who now is in his third year for Michigan State University. On the other side, Charlie West. Both men average better than 26 yards per kickoff return. And Bud Grant has said field position and the first touchdown will be vitally important. Jan Stenerud, when he gets into the ball, normally kicks the ball 5 yards deep. Let's see if he does now. Stenerud, the AFL's number 2 scorer, kicks the football game off for the 4th time, the Super Bowl. The Chiefs enter for the 2nd time. There will be no run back by Charlie West. Jan Stenerud just kicked one 70 yards downfield. And the Vikings will take over 1st and 10 at their 20-yard line. This young man has got an outstanding leg. Soccer-style kickers came into professional football in 1964 when Pete Gogolak at Buffalo did quite a job with the Buffalo Bills, then the AFL champions. Joe Kapp will direct the Minnesota Viking offense, a football team that rolled up 379 offensive points, and they clicked at 12 straight. His center is Mick Tingelhoff. His running backs will be Bill Brown and Dave Osborne. Wide to the far side, Gene Washington. On the near side, it's going to be John Henderson. Backs are split. A snap, a running play to Osborne off left tackle. He moves out to the 22-yard line. Dave Osborne, a slashing type runner, now in his 5th year for North Dakota, head around the left end. He got hit by Willie Lanier. That'll be a gain of some 2 yards, 2nd down and 8. Osley, as the Vikings called him last week, gained 108 yards rushing. He was able to score a 20-yard touchdown. He carried the football 18 times. He missed almost all of last year with a bad knee. They operated. Flanker back to the near side, John Henderson. Wide left, Gene Washington. In the backs are split Bill Brown, along with Dave Osborne. Back to throw, Joe Kapp, a sideliner. The ball is caught at the 29 by Dave Osborne, and he's run out of bounds for a Viking 1st and 10 after a 10-yard gain. Jim Lynch, Kansas City's right side backer, came in to do the job, and the Vikings have their first 1st and 10 on a 10-yard completion. One of the things, of course, that those who follow the National Football League and the Minnesota Vikings in particular are aware of, and that is that quarterback Joe Kapp normally does not like to go to the short man. He likes to go deep, and he throws to Osborne, Osborne that time short to pick up the first down. Very effective forward passer. He's got that good arm. He has thrown for 19 touchdowns and only 13 interceptions. Running play to Bill Brown off left tackle. He's hit by Jim Lynch at the 35-yard line. So the powerful running fullback of the Minnesota Vikings gets 3 yards off left tackle. It's now 2nd down, 7 yards to go. Bill Brown, last year, was able to score 11 touchdowns. He gained 805 yards. He was the star in the Pro Bowl. He has played in 4 different Pro Bowls, and Bud Grant said he's the best all-round fullback in the NFL. He said that because he can catch the football, he can block, and he's a fine runner. John Henderson, the flanker back. Gene Washington wide to the left side. Emmett Thomas will pick up Gene Washington on the far side of the field. There's speed against speed. 2nd down, 7 at the Viking, 35. Back to throw, Joe Kapp. He's got time. He throws under pressure. Ball is caught by John Beasley at midfield. He runs to Kansas City's 39. Quarterback Joe Kapp in the pocket. Had all sorts of time to throw, 5 to 6 seconds. He unleashed one to his tight end, John Beasley. He's made 34 catches now and rambles all the way to the Chiefs' 39. That's good for a 24-yard gain. And around the NFL, they talk not only about the wide receivers, Gene Washington, but they also talk about John Beasley. They double cover the wide men like John Henderson and Gene Washington, and quarterback Kapp can throw to his tight end. One of the most underrated tight ends in all of pro football. Kapp again in the pro set, they're much like the Green Bay Packers in their approach, very direct, and they block and tackle with anybody in pro ball. Fake blitz by Kansas City. A long count to the Chiefs' 39-yard line. Kapp at quarterback, running play to Osborne. The guard pulls out. Osborne gets about a yard. He is stopped at the 38-yard line off left tackle. Jim Kearney was the man who came in to turn the play in, and he made the tackle. They were running that time at right end, Aaron Brown. Defensively, Kansas City has got Jerry Mays at left end. He's lost some 8 pounds. He's down to 238 pounds. Curly Culp at left tackle, Buck Buchanan at right tackle, Aaron Brown, 6'5", 265 at right end. The linebackers are Bobby Bell, all AFL 5 straight years, Lanier in the middle, and Jim Lynch on the right side. The Vikings picked up a yard, 2nd down 9 at the Kansas City 38. No score in the first quarter. We're in the Super Bowl, the Vikings against the Chiefs. Kapp back to throw. He sets up the throw to the 47. He dumps one to Bill Brown. He is hit by Bobby Bell at the 40-yard line, but gets by him. Curly Culp tries to tackle him, and Jerry Mays finally makes the save. Joe Kapp, the quarterback, had to dump the ball quickly. He completed one to Brown. He got hit near the 40-yard line and finally dropped by Jerry Mays at the 39. That'll be a loss of 1. It brings up 3rd down and 10. In every prior Super Bowl, 3rd down has been the big down. In the first one, Bart Starr clicked on 9 out of 13 third down plays for 168 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kapp has been a winner. His statistics, yes, they're impressive, but the thing about him, he's a scrambling quarterback, a born leader with a good arm. And the thing he will do is he can run to the outside. 3rd down and 10 at the Kansas City 39-yard line. Henderson wide left. To the near side, Gene Washington. Fake running play, back to throw, Joe Kapp. He sets up throwing over the middle. It's incomplete at the 27-yard line. They were trying to John Beasley, and Willie Lanier nearly intercepted for Kansas City. So that means the Minnesota Vikings, now talking about the kicking game, will bring their kicking specialist onto the field. And Kansas City will do likewise. It brings up 4th down and 10 yards to go. Outstanding kicking games for both these clubs. They've got Brett Cox, a tremendous football player. He's kicked 121 points this year for the Minnesota Vikings to lead the National Football League. But now they're back to kick it. Back to boot the ball is the rookie from Pacific, Bob Lee. He averaged 40 yards a try. Dual safety men for Kansas City, Mike Greer at the right safety. On the other side, Willie Mitchell, a short kick. He's angling for the far corner, hits to the 15-yard line. Bob Lee's kick bounds out of bounds to the 17. that means a good kick as far as hemming up Kansas City. The ball will come back in the 17, and the Chiefs will take over 83 yards from the goal line on a 22-yard boot by Bob Lee. 10:58 to play in the first quarter. Kansas City nothing. They're taking over for the first time offensively. And the Vikings' four Norsemen comes on the field. One of the most celebrated front fours in all of pro football. Like the fearsome foursome in L.A., they're led by Jim Marshall at right end, Carl Eller, the All-League performer, left end, Gary Larson, and Alan Page. The Chiefs are in the I formation. For National Football League fans, they're much like the Cowboys. Now the Chiefs have two tight ends, a single flanker back, a wide receiver, Otis Taylor, running play straight ahead to Bobby Holmes. Bobby Holmes gets three off left guard. He is stopped by Wally Hilgenberg and by Gary Larson. And that time, the Chiefs fullback went straight ahead for a gain of 3, second down and 7. Bob, I would say this. It's got to be a balanced attack for both the Vikings and Chiefs. You've got to hurt the defenses running and passing.
One of the first things, of course, that Hank Schramm will try to determine here as they get the ball for the first time, the Chiefs, is to find out whether they can establish a running game against these big front four of the Minnesota Vikings before they have to go to the air to test them that way.
Chiefs this year averaged 159 yards rushing a game, the top figure in the AFL. Again, two tight ends. That gives him an extra block. Lenny Dawson back to throw. Rolls to his left. He's got the man open at the 30. Mike Garrett. He makes a foot fake, and he's moved out of bounds to the 36-yard line. A halfback pass from Mike Garrett. That one is good for 16 yards. Ed Shirachman runs him out of bounds. Now, Garrett this year has caught 44 passes. Last year, he led the Kansas City Chiefs in catching the football. It's the Chiefs' first and 10 of the afternoon on a 16-yard completion. Now the first and 10s are even. 10 minutes, 10 seconds to play in the first quarter. No score. The Chiefs offensively have Hollop at center, Ed Buddy and Mo Mormon at guards, Dave Hill and Jim Tyre at tackles. Kansas City in the I formation. Hank Stram calls this the tight I formation. Now you'll have the left end. Frank Pitts outside the left tackle by 5 yards. Running play straight ahead to Bobby Holmes for a short gain. He is stopped after a pickup of 3 at the 39 by Alan Page. It is Page who has really made this front four cohesive for the Minnesota Vikings. He gives them that good rush. He's an outstanding athlete. He was drafted number 1 out of Notre Dame 3 years ago. He made the Pro Bowl football team this year. The thing he is very, very quick. Chiefs pick up a short 3-yard gain, second down and 7. Taylor again the wide receiver. On him is Ursula McBee. On the left side is Frank Pitts. He's being patrolled by Ed Shirachman. The linebackers, Lonnie Warwick, starting today. They were worried about his ankle. Running play to Garrett. He tries to move outside and does. Mike Garrett turns the bend for a gain of 4. And Gary Larson, the strongest performer at the left tackle of that front four, makes the tackle. Interesting story about Larson. He went in the Marines for 3 years. He felt it really helped him. He said the difference between college ball and pro ball, mental toughness. He said my 3 years in the Marines really helped me. So now for the Chiefs. It's third down coming up. And the Chiefs have some 3 yards to go for a first and 10. Wide to the far side, Taylor. Frank Pitts is wide left. This spreads the Viking defense. Normally they like to play a zone. Now the Chiefs with a slot to the near side. Dawson throws at midfield, is caught by Pitts. He's to the 40. He is still on his feet and stopped to the 36. On a sideline pattern, Lenny Dawson on a quick hitch pattern at midfield hit Frank Pitts. He moved the ball all the way down to the 36-yard line on a 21-yard completion. And on the sideline today, the cornerbacks are going to have to watch their footing. You're not going to have good footing. The cornerback and the receiver both have got to guard against it. Eddie Shirachman that time made a little gamble and went for the ball. And the pass was complete, and Pitts got away from him, got all the way down to the 36-yard line. So on that big third down play, the Kansas City Chiefs at least come up with the first play. Lenny Dawson has clicked on 2 passes today of 21 and 16 yards. He's passing very effectively. With a feel like this really hurts your pass rush. Dawson back to throw. He is creamed. He is hit by Roy Winston, the left side linebacker of Minnesota. Winston made an outstanding move. He moved inside, then outside, and made the tackle. And Dawson got dumped at the 44. That'll be a loss of 8. The Vikings this year got to opposing quarterbacks 49 times. The Chiefs defense got to him 48 times. Wendell Hayes coming in at fullback. He replaces Bobby Holmes. Hank Stram likes to alternate his running backs. Wendell Hayes is 6'1", 220 pounds from Humboldt. He's very quick. From the I formation, he normally averages 3.5 to 4 yards a carry, and he's a fine blocker. For the Chiefs, second down and 18. Still no score in the first quarter.
The wide receiver, Otis Taylor on the far side, McPhee on him. Frank Pitts on the left side, Shirachman picks him up. The Chiefs now with 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers. Freddie Arbanis, the tight end. Lenny Dawson on a delay play, giving to Garrett. He runs down to the 40-yard line, and he is hit by middle linebacker Lonnie Warwick, but hit first by Alan Page. On the halfback delay, a short gain of 4. And now for the Kansas City Chiefs, 3rd down and long yardage. 3rd down and 14 to go. Play down for quarterback Len Dawson. Lenny Dawson in the first Super Bowl threw for over 211 yards. Dawson completed 16 of 27. Many recall that interception of 50 yards run back to the 5-yard line by Willie Wood. Lenny Dawson is having time to throw that ball today thanks to his front 5. Both of these teams have outstanding offensive lines. Chiefs are a little bit bigger in size. Dawson back, makes the run. He'll throw from midfield. Dawson has one batted down. The pass rush was put on by the right end, Jim Marshall. And he got help from Alan Page. Norm Van Brocklin, who used to be the Viking coach, once said of Jim Marshall, there's the quickest animal playing in the defensive line today. But between Marshall and Page, the ball was batted down. And the Chiefs now will go for a long-range field goal. Jan Stenerud comes in the ball game. He'll be kicking this one from the 49-yard line. The ball is on the left hash mark. Jan this year has kicked a field goal of 54 and another of 52 yards. So Jan Stenerud attempts this field goal from the 48-yard line. Holding again will be quarterback Lenny Dawson. The ball is down. The kick's up. It's end over end. The boot is up and long. It's good. A 48-yard field goal is good by Jan Stenerud with 6:52 to play in the first quarter. Timeout is called on the field with a score. Kansas City 3, the Minnesota Vikings nothing.
You're at Bridgehampton Race Circuit on Long Island. At the starting line, a new V8 sedan. In it is
Shell's Answer Man, here to warn you that you can get bad mileage even when you use Super Shell. If you drive like this. Hear that? Lots of drivers sit at a red light and play with the accelerator pedal. Maybe they get a kick out of the racy sound, but they're just pouring gasoline down the drain. Now hop in. I'll show you a real gasoline waster. Ready? Okay, we'll floor it. To 60 in 12 seconds. But during that acceleration, we were getting only 6 miles per gallon in a car that should deliver 18 miles per gallon at steady highway speeds. Get the message?
for good mileage. Get Super Shell. Good mileage gasoline.
Jan Stenerud holds the pro record. He kicked 16 straight field goals. He tied the pro record, established first by Lou Groza. He got his 12th in a row on a 52-yarder. Stenerud has an outstanding leg. And if it comes down to the kicking game, you've got two of the finest here. Cox, very accurate, 26 of 37. Jan Stenerud kicked 27 of 35 field goals during the regular season. There's Stenerud kicking off. A moment ago, he kicked one 10 yards deep, and again, no return by Charlie West. We pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the CBS Radio Network.
This is Jack Carney, and I hope you'll join me as often as possible every day from noon until 4 o'clock on KSFO Radio in San Francisco.
Tom Hedrick along with Bob Reynolds speaking to you from Tulane Stadium. 81,000 fans look on today. 6:47 to play in the first quarter. And the score, Kansas City 3, Minnesota Vikings nothing. That drive netted Kansas City 43 yards. Two pass plays did it. A 16-yard pass, a 21-yard pass. Cap at quarterback for the Vikings. His backs are in tight. Wide receiver Henderson on the near side. Running play on the draw, coming to Brown. He's straight up the middle. He gets tackled at the 23-yard line by Buck Buchanan, Curly Culp, and Willie Lanier. The middle of that interior line did the job for the Chiefs. Kansas City led the American Football League again against the rush. And incidentally, the man that has made Kansas City has been Curly Culp. Chiefs had problems getting good pressure on the quarterback until Culp came along. Used to be an NCAA wrestling champion. Second down 7 of the Viking 23. Cap at quarterback. He drops back to throw from the 15. Cap looks his field over. He's rushed and tackled. He gets stopped to the 16-yard line by left end Jerry Mays. Jerry Mays placed heat on the quarterback. Culp made the quarterback back out, and Jerry Mays came in to make the tackle. Yesterday, in spotting the film, I noted what Jerry Mays and Johnny Robinson both said about Cap, the thing they liked about it. He said he can go back in the pocket. He doesn't tip off which way he's going to throw, either right or left. And it takes a quarterback with an extremely strong arm to be able to do that. That'll be a loss for the Viking quarterback, putting the ball back at the 17. And for the Vikings, third down coming up, and some 13 yards to go. Joe Cap, at quarterback, who's been a master this year on 3rd and 10. He calls a sweep, sweeping the left end. Bill Brown out of the 20, the 25, stopped by Bobby Bell at the 27-yard line. The Vikings get 10 yards back, but they're shy of that 1st and 10, and will have to kick the ball. Referee puts the ball down to the 26-yard line and brings up 4th down and 4. On that play, the Kansas City Chiefs, expecting that Cap would go to the air, sent Willie Mitchell in there along with Goldie Sellers, brought in a couple of halfbacks and took out a linebacker, but instead they went on the running play, and now on 4th down they got to move it out of there. Bob Lee will kick it. A moment ago he socked one 22 yards. He kicked one out of bounds at the 17. A good rush is put on by the Kansas City Chiefs. We may have roughing the kicker. We're going to have roughing the kicker against the Chiefs. At the 30-yard line, safety man Willie Mitchell makes the grab, but he's run out of bounds. He's run out by Oscar Reed, and we've got roughing the kicker back at the 17-yard line. The Vikings again will have the ball in this penalty. Well, there wasn't any question, as you could tell from the roar of the crowd. The Kansas City Chiefs sent 4 men flying through there in an attempt to block the kick. Of course, if they get a piece of the kicker when the ball is up there and going, at the same time, you don't get that roughing the kicker penalty, but they're going to get it here. They just couldn't stop the momentum, and it moves the ball out for the Vikings up to their own 41-yard line, where they will have it 1st down and 10, and there's the first break, at least, of the afternoon, and it goes to the Minnesota Vikings, who trail here to the Kansas City Chiefs off the foot of the great Jan Stenerud, 3-0. Stenerud kicking a 48-yard field goal, a new Super Bowl record. 1st and 10, Minnesota at their own 41. The man who roughed the kicker was safety man Caesar Belzer, just activated this afternoon. 1st and 10 on the 41, Joe Cap on a play-action pass over the sideline. Bill Brown is tackled on a sideline pattern by Jim Kearney, the strong safety man of Kansas City. Bill Brown can catch that ball. He is the Vikings' all-time leading receiver. He's caught 227 balls. He's a fine blocker as well. And Jim Kearney came up in the strong safety to make the tackle. Jim used to be in the National Football League, a cornerback at Detroit and a running back at Philadelphia. On the play, a gain of only 2. 2nd down and 8. The Vikings, 43. They trail the Chiefs 3-0 in the first quarter. 4.5 minutes to play. Cap at quarterback. Wide left is Gene Washington. Henderson on the near side. Cap will go back to throw on the 35. He does. At the 45-yard line, the grab was made by Dave Osborne, and he got hit immediately by right side linebacker Jim Lynch. Lynch, for the 2nd time, has picked up Osborne on that circle pass, and that'll be a gain of a yard. And for the Vikings, it'll bring up 3rd down, 7 yards to go. Early in the ball game, the Chiefs' outside linebackers have picked up that swing or circle pass very well. What they figured there, and Osborne has greater speed than an outside linebacker like Jim Lynch. This is a thing we've seen in pro football the last 5 or 6 years. Vikings All-Pro center Mick Tingelhoff leads out the Viking offensive line. Been All-NFL 6 different times. Signed as a free agent. Gene Washington, the bomb threat is wide left. Fake running play. Cap will throw on the 35. He throws to the sideline near midfield. Henderson makes the catch. An outstanding catch for the wide receiver of the Vikings, John Henderson. He's got to have both feet in. The Chiefs did not like the call. The referee was right there. He said Henderson did make the grab at midfield. And the Vikings are able to pick up 6 yards on it. That's as good a catch as you'll see, and you can see why the Vikings say that John Henderson is the most improved football player that they have. But it's not quite enough for a 1st and 10. It's a yard and a half shy of it. And again, to kick the ball for the 3rd time is Bob Lee. 3:28 to play in the first quarter. Chiefs 3, Vikings nothing. Dual safety men to the 15-yard line with the Chiefs. Mike Garrett now backs up 5 yards deeper at the 11. And Willie Mitchell will be the short man. High snap with the center, and there's the kick. Lazy boot. Underneath the ball to 10, letting it roll into the end zone. The Vikings with good coverage, and they try to tip it out in Kansas. The automatic touchback. Good pursuit with the Vikings. The ball will come back to the 20, and the Chiefs will take over. Timeout is called in the field with the score. Kansas City 3, the Minnesota Vikings nothing.
Hey, Miss
is going to tell you where's breakfast.
I'll start it in a minute, Andy.
Start it? Oh, honey, I'm due in the office.
Okay, Andy, but first I want to model my new mink coat. I bought it because it reminded me of STP.
That coat reminds you of STP?
Uh-huh. Now, everybody knows a mink coat protects them in the winter better than an ordinary coat. Just like STP oil treatment protects a car's engine against the cold better than ordinary motor oil alone.
That's true, Dolly. STP does give engines all the extra lubrication they need for faster winter starts, but...
And feel the fur. It's so smooth. STP helps cars run smoother. And this coat is longer than other coats. And you always say STP keeps all cars running smoother, quieter, longer.
Honey, if that coat's so much like STP, why isn't it getting you off to a faster start on my breakfast?
STP is the breakfast Joe Kapp in this ball game is 6 for 7 for 44 yards. Lenny Dawson is 2 out of 3 for Kansas City for 37 net yards. Chiefs have the ball at the 20-yard line. They have some 18 different offensive sets. They'll even go into a shotgun. They always line up in the I formation. Sometimes we'll go from this formation. Running backs are Mike Garrett and Bobby Holmes. Again, the double tight end alignment. One flanker back. Dawson will go back to throw from the 10. Dawson has ample time to throw. It's caught by Frank Pitts. Frank Pitts moves downfield for a gain of 20 yards. He's hit by Paul Klaus. And the Chiefs have a 1st and 10. Frank Pitts ran a hook pattern against this zone. They figured they might be able to do that. He ran down hard and cut back, and Klaus made the tackle on him. Any question about it, if that Minnesota defense gives Dawson that much time to throw here this afternoon, the Vikes are in problems because he's a pinpoint passer. And in order to be effective against him, you've got to put some rush on him. And that time and throughout most of this first period, he's had plenty of time to throw. Back to throw again. Len Dawson, the sideline, is caught by Taylor at the 45. He weaves his way to the 47 and out to the 49. Taylor for 9 yards. Paul Klaus made the tackle. And the Chiefs pick up 9 more. You know, probably the biggest matchup in this ball game is Dave Hill, the right tackle of Kansas City, against Carl Eller, who they call the Moose and affectionately the Minnesota Viking camp. Before the ball game, many felt that the key to the ball game was what the people did up front. Which front five could do the job offensively protecting their quarterback? Joe Kapp has made that statement all week. So the ball is at the 49-yard line, 2nd down and 1. Chiefs 3, Vikings nothing. 2 minutes, 2 seconds to go in the quarter. Chiefs lead by a field goal, a 48-yarder by Jan Stenerud, 5 yards beyond the previous record. Running play coming to Garrett. He gets the Chiefs 1st and 10. He moves down for 2 yards. Kansas City with their 4th 1st and 10 of the afternoon. The first one running. Gary Larson and Jim Marshall make the tackles. So the ball is at the 49-yard line. Lenny Dawson, according to Coach Hank Strand, the most accurate passer in pro football if given time to throw. He's had a good week in practice. Last week in the AFL title game against the Oakland Raiders, he had 7 of 17, but he's throwing much better this afternoon. Taylor is wide right. Again, the Chiefs are in the I formation. Setbacks are split. Mike Garrett on the left side, Bobby Holmes on the right. Frank Pitts now the wide receiver. Running play coming to Garrett. Garrett to the outside. He is smothered at the 43-yard line, but he gets 6 yards. Lonnie Warwick comes in to make the tackle for the Vikings. This is one of the things that Coach Bud Grant of the Minnesota Vikings was a little bit alarmed about. He said, we have not played against the backs of the size of Garrett and Holmes most of the time this year, and we're a little concerned as to whether or not we can get a hold of them and hang on to them. Well, there was a good example of the fact that they could not hang on to Mike Garrett quickly enough, and he picked up considerable yardage on the play. Hank Stram has called him the best trouble runner he's seen, and many people call these the mini backs because they've got 3 backs who are 5'9", McVay, Mike Garrett, and Bobby Holmes, and they are hard to contain. They've got a low center of gravity. 2nd down with the Chiefs, 4 yards to go. Len Dawson on the draw play to Bobby Holmes, and he gets hit at the 48-yard line. Alan Page saw it coming, got rid of the guard, and made the tackle on the Chiefs fullback. That'll be a loss of 5. Alan Page comes all the time. Somebody said before the game what makes him an outstanding football player. He said he does come all the time. He's aggressive, he's a fine athlete, and he really compliments the right end, Jim Marshall. 3rd down with the Chiefs, 9 yards to go. 5 seconds to play in the first quarter. Chiefs are still leading by the score of 3-0, and that's going to be the final play of the first quarter here at Tulane Stadium. That's the end of the first period with the score. The Kansas City Chiefs 3, the Minnesota Vikings 0.
Taking a look at the first quarter statistics, Kansas City's got 4 first and 10s, the Vikings 3. Lenny Dawson 4 for 5 for 66 yards for the Chiefs. Joe Kapp of the Vikings 6 for 9 for 44 yards. Both teams have 17 yards rushing. Third down and 9. Chiefs fake the run. Dawson back to throw. Fires over the middle at the 30-yard line. It's broken up, but interference will be called on the right cornerback, Ed Shirachman. He interfered at the 31-yard line on Frank Pitts, and the Chiefs will have a first and 10. The interference call was called on the only man who signed in 1961, Ed Shirachman. Shirachman apparently reached over and interfered with a wide receiver, Frank Pitts. And that's going to give the Chiefs their 5th first and 10 of the afternoon. And putting the ball 31 yards away from the goal line. That's a 21-yard play. Not passing yardage, but actually penalty yardage. Chiefs are huddling at the 40-yard line. Olive leads them out. He was a linebacker in the previous Super Bowl game. He has had 7 knee operations. A wide receiver, Frank Pitts in the left, Taylor wide right. Dawson back of the sideline, throwing for Taylor, makes the catch at the 25. Hit immediately by the left cornerback, Ursel McBee. He was outstanding against the Packers in the 19-7 ball game, and that's going to be good for 6 yards. What they call a simple out pattern. Taylor at 6'3", 215 likes that one. Down in the crossing pattern right up the middle. Second down and 4 for Kansas City. Lenny Dawson has had a lot of time to throw. He's now 5 for 6 in the ball game for 71 yards. Outstanding blocking up front by Kansas City. Dawson has thrown for 182 touchdowns in 8 years. He has led the AFL 4 times in passing. Wide to the left side is Frank Pitts. Running backs are split. Garrett on the right side, Bobby Holmes on the left. Now the backs run into each other. A big pile up at the 25-yard line. Lenny Dawson got hit by his own man, Bobby Holmes. Obvious mix-up with the Chiefs. Roy Winston and Carl Eller came in to make sure they would go no farther. And that's what the Chiefs did in the final quarter against Oakland when they had 3 fumbles inside the 25-yard line, and yet the defense got the job done. We saw a similar play to that last week when the Minnesota Vikings at the 7-yard line, and Kapp bumped into his running back and carried it in for the touchdown. Minnesota calls that the quarterback bump on 2 play. But I don't know whether the Chiefs have that one in the book or not. Don't believe so, Bob. There was an obvious busted play, and now they're back to throw from the I formation. Dawson back to throw. He fires over the middle to Taylor. It's broken up by McBee. Otis Taylor was running to the far sideline. The ball was batted down by McBee, who played his man perfectly. The moment that Taylor was trying to make his cut, the ball was thrown, and McBee was up there to time it well and bat the ball down. And now Taylor has lost his shoe. He'll leave the scene for the Kansas City Chiefs. He'll be replaced by Gloucester Richardson. And for the Chiefs, it'll bring up 4th down, and Kansas City's got some 4 yards to go. Lenny Dawson looking to the near sideline. He's already had one long 48-yard field goal today by Jan Stenerud. He'll attempt another one. Jan Stenerud will attempt one from the 33-yard line. 13-24 to play in the first half. This could give Kansas City a 6-point lead. The ball's down, the kick's up, it's perfect. A 33-yard field goal, good by Jan Stenerud. There's timeout call on the field with the score, Kansas City 6, the Minnesota Vikings nothing.
Here at Bridgehampton Race Circuit, a Ferrari is pulling into the pits. Let's join Shell's answer man down there.
The question is, how fast can a pit crew fuel up and change 2 tires? Stopwatch ready? Go! Fuel hose in, and I'm pleased to see they're using Super Shell. The wheels are up, front and back. 2 tires off. Windshield cleaned. Tires on. Tires set. Fueling almost done. Jacks away. Done. He's out. 28 seconds in all. Now he's good for about another 40 laps. And with Super Shell in his tank, he'll get good racing mileage. That's important because good mileage may save a pit stop. And that can mean the difference between winning or losing.
The Answer Man is brought to you by Super Shell, good mileage gasoline.
And you might raise the point, how many field goals have been kicked in the Super Bowl? 2 years ago, Don Chandler kicked 4 field goals. He had the longest attempt from 43 yards away, which was successful. Jan Stenerud today has kicked one from 48 yards away. Stenerud kicked 16 in a row. He missed on a 38-yard attempt in the final game against the Oakland Raiders, and he'll kick off again to Charlie West and to Clinton Jones. 13-19 to play in the first half. They like the specialty teams in Minnesota. West out to the 25 to the 30. He is stopped at the 32-yard line. Charlie West runs the ball to the 32-yard line. Tempers flare a bit. And on the suicide squad, you see him go after that football. But the Vikings will take over now at their 32. There was a fumble on the end of the play, and the Kansas City Chiefs thought that they got the ball back, but the whistle was blown. The Vikings kept possession of it, and the Kansas City fans who were here didn't like the call of that one too well. They thought that their ball club had come up with the football, but instead it's the Vikings' ball. First down at 10 at their own 32-yard line, and they trail 6-0 with 13 minutes and 5 seconds of playing time remaining here in the first half. 22-yard return by Charlie West. Cap at quarterback, lines his ball club up at the 32-yard line. Takes on a running play to Osborne, and Osborne gets nothing. Osborne tried to go off the left tackle. When he made his move, the defender was there for Kansas City, and Curly Coates. And that's the thing that makes him a fine defensive football player. A year ago, he was acquired from Denver. He's only 6'1". They say that's too small to play in the defensive line in pro ball, but he's so quick and knows how to use those hands. Second down for the Vikings. Still 10 yards to go at their 32. The Vikings on the ground today have been held to 17 net yards rushing. Wide to the far side, John Henderson. Wide left, Gene Washington. Gene, of course, with that outstanding speed. Kansas City now forced to play basically a man for man. Back to throw, Joe Cap. Cap looks his field over, rifles one. It's caught at the 45, a fumble by Henderson, and the Chiefs get the ball right back. Johnny Robinson recovers. Johnny Robinson picked up the fumble to the 46, and the Chiefs have their first straight. The ball was fumbled. Henderson made a good grab on it, lost his footing when he got hit, and Johnny Robinson, playing with his badly bruised ribs, picked up the ball, and now the Chiefs have good field position again at the 46-yard line. Johnny Robinson this year intercepted 8 passes, and he's the defensive quarterback of this club. Well, of course, as we mentioned at the start of the broadcast, one of the things that was going to be very important here was field position, and the fact that both of the clubs had the fine foot in Stenerud and Cox, and so far the Vikings have been on the short end of it, as Stenerud has the 2 field goals. Chiefs are lining up in the I formation. Wendell Hayes, the first back, the deep man in the I formation, is going to be running back Mike Garrett. Mike is stopped. He gets hit behind the line of scrimmage for a loss of 2 by Alan Page. He makes the stop at the 48-yard line. It's second down and 12. Neither team has been able to establish a running attack, and I can tell you why. They're unable to turn the corner well. The sidelines, the 50-yard line area, the 30-yard line, and inside the 15, the running backs are going to have difficulty digging their cleats in. And so neither team thus far has been able to run well at either front four. It's been a passing game and kicking game today. Second down, 12 to go. Dawson back to throw from the 45. Lynn has time. He's throwing one deep for Taylor, and he tries to come back, and the Vikings intercept. The Vikings intercept at the 7-yard line as Paul Klaus does the job. He's a free safety man acquired a year ago from Washington. And his rookie year, he picked off 12, and here's a man that's really helped the Vikings get the interception time after time. There may be some who say that time Dawson put it up for grabs, but not so. A great defensive play. But timeout is called on the field with the score Kansas City 6, Minnesota nothing.
Andy, why did Avis decide to use both STP oil treatment and STP gas treatment in 75,000 new rent-a-cars a year?
Dolly Granatelli, I'm surprised at you. Of all the people, you should know that STP oil treatment is one of the best new car insurance policies you can buy, especially now in winter when your engine needs extra lubrication to start easier on cold winter mornings.
I get it. Oh, hey, there's a parking space.
Honey, you'll never fit in that space.
And you take care of selling STP and leave the driving to me for a change, okay?
But Dolly...
For instance, why don't you have the Avis people tell all their customers how STP oil treatment acts just like antifreeze for oil?
Dolly.
And why don't you have Avis explain to everyone how STP gasoline treatment helps keep their cars from stalling all winter long?
Look, honey.
And then why don't you...
Dolly.
What, dear?
Why don't you take my advice and look for a bigger parking space?
Bob Reynolds, along with Tom Hedrick, here from Tulane Stadium in New Orleans, the Super Bowl. 6-0. The Kansas City Chiefs out in front. The Minnesota Vikings with the interception have it first and 10 at their own 7-yard line. The Vikings just did a whale of a job defensively getting the ball back for their offense. Vikings line up again in the pro set. Joe Cap at quarterback in his 11th year. Played 8 years up in Canada. with an outstanding running quarterback and throwing quarterback there. Dave Osborne straight ahead for 3. Osborne stopped at the 10-yard line after that 3-yard gain. It's second down 7. Jim Lynch came in to hit him. And the block was thrown offensively by right tackle Ron Yerry. And Yerry has come to the fore as being one of the best run and pass blockers in the NFL. This young lad from the University of Southern California. 6'6", 265, college football's #1 lineman 2 years ago. Second down and 7. Vikings on the ground with 20 yards. Kansas City with 17. 10.5 minutes to play in the first half. Chiefs 6, Minnesota Vikings nothing. Kansas City now playing with a 4-3 defense. Back to throw from the goal line. Joe Kapp sets up. He's throwing for the bomb for Gene Washington. Emmett Thomas goes back, and he has the ball and dropped it. Emmett Thomas, who led the AFL with 9 interceptions, lost his footing again at the 35-yard line, right in front of the bench, and that's going to happen all afternoon, Bob. The receivers losing their footing, as well as the men who try to intercept.
I'll say one thing, they had single coverage on Washington so far in the ball game, and Emmett Thomas, who's been on him, along with Johnny Robinson on the other side, have done a fine job. They've stayed right with him, and Washington, of course, during the course of the season, caught 39 for 821 yards and 9 touchdowns, and he's a tough man to cover, but the Kansas City Chiefs, who here in the first half of this ball game at least, seem to be just a bit sharper than the Minnesota Vikings are doing the job defensively. One reason this is happening, too, Kapp is having to unload more quickly than he wants to, is Buck Buchanan playing over the nose of the center, Mick Tingelhoff, and Tingelhoff gives away 50 pounds. Bob Grimm in the ball game, relieving Gene Washington. For the Vikings, third down and 7 to go at the 10-yard line. Kapp with a long count, probably an audible. Flags are down, they'll get 5 yards for delay of game. A legal procedure, and 5 yards delay of game, as this will move the ball back to the 5-yard line. Quarterback Joe Kapp simply took too long to call the play. Now, normally in the National Football League, you don't see a defensive tackle over the nose of the center. But we have seen it time after time today. In the preseason game, one a year ago up in Bloomington by Kansas City, Buchanan had a big day against a guy like Tingelhoff. Tingelhoff is outstanding against the blitz, one of the best in that phase of the game. They say he's a chop blocker. In other words, he'll come in and chop the legs out from underneath you, a very good technique for an offensive center, and it's been quite effective for him. Third down for the Vikings, 11 yards to go at their 5-yard line, 10:22 to play. Kansas City with 2 field goals, leading 6-0. Joe Kapp on a play-action pass goes behind the goalpost. He'll throw the ball. He throws on the dead run. He fires deep for Bob Grimm. 2 men over to cover at the 45-yard line. Dropping back with Johnny Robinson along with Jim Marcellus. Marcellus has done a great job for Kansas City on that left cornerback in his rookie year, and that's why they drafted him #1. There was a notable weakness for Kansas City 3 years ago in the Super Bowl that came at cornerback, but Marcellus and Emmett Thomas have solved that problem. The Vikings have run out of downs, 4th down and 11, and they've got to kick the ball as Bob Lee comes in the scene. A moment ago when he got roughed, he got off unofficially a 55-yard kick. He doesn't have a lot of kicking room. He's almost out of the end zone. Mike Garrett and Willie Mitchell, the dual safety men of the 41 for the Chiefs. Just over 10 minutes to play in the half. Short kick. The ball will hit Mike Garrett at the 43, and he'll be driven back. Excellent coverage by the Vikings, but the Chiefs have good field position at the 44-yard line. That tackle was made by Mick Tingelhoff. Timeout is called on the field with the score, Kansas City 6, the Minnesota Vikings nothing.
With news of a new world's record, here's Shell's Answer Man.
Now there's a fantastic new record for gasoline mileage. 244 miles per gallon, set on Super Shell. 244 miles per gallon. A new world's record set by 3 Shell technicians in Shell's annual mileage marathon. Of course, they used unusual driving techniques not generally recommended, and their car was highly modified. But they ran on the same Super Shell you can buy. One thing that tickles me most is that the Shell engineers who compete in the mileage marathon do so on their own time, just for the fun of it, which kind of shows that good mileage isn't just their business, it's their pleasure, too. Next question.
What was the old mileage record?
The old world record was 168 miles per gallon, set back in the 1950s by 2 Shell engineers.
Thank you. The Answer Man is brought to you by Super Shell, good mileage gasoline. Super Shell, it goes a long way.
Thus far on third down, quarterback Joe Kapp 0 for 4 and Lenny Dawson 0 for 2. The story of this ball game has been Kansas City's defense and their kicking game. They're getting good field position time after time and keeping pressure on the Vikings. They have the ball at the 44. Len Dawson on the end-around play, giving to Frank Pitts at the 40, at the 35, at the 30. He is run down at the 25-yard line. The end-around play to Frank Pitts, good for 19 yards. And a Kansas City first down. 10 minutes to go in the first half. And you just saw to the outside Frank Pitts, who can run the 100-yard dash in 9.5 on the end-around play, get 19. And the Chiefs in the previous preseason game also used that play to perfection. A real hard one for the defense to pick up because normally the ends, once they see the play going the opposite way, will move over to pursue. And Frank Pitts came back to the weak side and got 19. Chiefs through the years has averaged 10 yards a try on that particular play. Kansas City in the I formation. Contact is made by Alan Page. The Chiefs were shifting. Page made contact. It'll be a 5-yard penalty, a legal procedure against the Vikings. And the mark-off will come to the 20-yard line. The Chiefs will have it first down and 5. The Minnesota fans, some 5,000 here booing. The Chiefs fans naturally responding with a big war whoop. And Dawson now will talk to his ball club at the 27. Dawson's had a good day passing. He is 5 for 8 for 72 yards. He's had one interception. That occurred at the 7-yard line by Paul Cross. When the Chiefs offense does a good job, it's Len Dawson at quarterback, Otis Taylor catching the football, and Mike Garrett to the outside. And naturally, those folks up front. First and 5 at the Viking 20-yard line. Double tight end alignment, Freddie Arbanis and Otis Taylor, the tight ends. A busted play. Dawson eats the ball. He is back to the 19. He's hit by Gary Larson. Lenny Dawson, on an obvious busted play, did not pull a Joe Kapp of a week ago who got 7 yards in the score. He came back and he got hit. At one time, Dawson was quite a scrambler. He averaged over 7 yards a carry 4 years ago, but that knee has certainly put a curtailment to all that. For the Chiefs, second down and 5. Kansas City's got fine blocking, particularly from the tackles and the guards. Ed Buddy at 6'5", 260. Mo Mormon, the number 1 draft choice of a season ago, 6'4", 252. Right tackle Dave Hill and left tackle Jim Tyre. Second down and 5. The Chiefs have a size advantage in the line. Running play to Wendell Hayes. He gets 1. He is stopped at the Viking 19. And here's where the Vikings get tough. The linebacker, Lonnie Warwick, came in to get the tackle. He also got help from right end Jim Marshall. Now the Kansas City Chiefs go back to regroup their forces at the 25-yard line. It brings up third down and 4 to go. On third down today, Len Dawson 0 for 2. 8 minutes, 50 seconds to play in the first half. Chiefs lead 6-0 on a 48 and a 33-yard field goal by Jan Stenerud. Chiefs are lining up in the I formation. Wendell Hayes again, the running back. Tailback Mike Garrett on the quick count. The delay call coming to Wendell Hayes. He is stopped at the 16-yard line. Wendell gets 3, and Wally Hilgenberg comes in to make that tackle. It's going to bring up 4th and 1 for Kansas City. Gerald Wilson starts to come on the field, and Jan Stenerud, so the Chiefs will go for a field goal attempt. They're actually 2 yards away from it. And they have a rule in Kansas City. If it's 4th down, they're going to kick the field goal if it's more than 1. It's 4th and 2, and Jan Stenerud again will come on to attempt the field goal. This will be attempted from the 25-yard line. So Jan will be attempting his 3rd field goal of the afternoon. Len Dawson, the holder. And Lenny has been his holder. He's been able to do quite a job. They're going to get a new football. You can do that any time. The referee, John McDonough, the American Football League, puts the ball down to the 17. Stenerud has gone 2 for 2 this afternoon. He'll kick from the right hash mark.
He said a lot determines how the line blocks and how the holder does it. The kick is up, and it's good again. Another field goal by Jan Stenerud, this one from 25 yards away. Timeout is called on the field with a score. Kansas City 9, the Minnesota Vikings nothing.
The Chiefs' defense in the kicking game have given Kansas City a 9-0 lead. Jan Stenerud on 2 different occasions this year has kicked 5 field goals in a single game. He did it twice against the Buffalo Bills. He'll be kicking on the 40-yard line, and the 2 deep men are 2 yards away from that goal line. This one is not as long as in the first quarter. At the 10, the ball is fumbled by Charlie West. The Chiefs go over it, so to the Vikings. At the 19, the Chiefs recover. The Chiefs specialty squad goes downfield, and E.J. Howard was the man who went firing in for that loose football at the 19.
And West got his shoulder pad on it, really never got possession, and the Chiefs recover that football. Ramey Prudhomme was the man who picked the ball up at the 19-yard line. Ramey from LSU, Montessori, he's played 5 different spots for Kansas City and Buffalo, and this young man has done quite a job on the specialty teams all year. So the Chiefs get a king-size break at the 19 of the Vikings. Turnovers tell you a lot in this ball game. Chiefs have intercepted a pass. They've been able to do the job and maintain that field position throughout the afternoon. The Vikings have not had a 1st and 10 in this quarter. A slot to the left. Len Dawson back to throw. He gets decked. He gets tackled at the 27-yard line by right end Jim Marshall. And he really came to the outside. We'll pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the CBS Radio Network.
This is Dan Sorkin, the Answer Man, from 9 to noon with the original Amateur Minute and some other funny stuff on KSFO in San Francisco.
An 8-yard loss of the Chiefs quarterback, and any time he goes down, the Chiefs fans hold their breath. He's been hit twice since they nearly operated upon that knee, bounded up, had to miss a couple of ball games because of that, but Alan Page put the hard rush on him. Now with the Chiefs, 2nd down and 18. Dawson on a running play to Hayes with a 20, inside the 15, and stopped with a 14. On the draw play, Wendell Hayes of Kansas City went straight ahead, was able to move for 7 yards. Wendell likes that play. It's his favorite. He's very quick off the mark, and the linemen like to block for him. Tremendous trap play on Warwick and Hilgenberg. They went right by him, blocked beautifully for him, and Warwick and Hilgenberg found themselves in the secondary of the Kansas City Chiefs, but by that time, Wendell Hayes, with that speed, was well past them. And so the ball now at the 14-yard line. And for the Chiefs, 3rd down and 5 yards to go. Wide to the far side, Frank Pitts. Taylor, flanker to the near side. Lenny Dawson and play-action passing. Throwing to the sideline is caught. It's a 1st and goal at the 4-yard line of the Vikings. Quarterback Len Dawson flicks again. This one good for a 10-yarder to Taylor on an out pattern. They were working on McBee, and the Chiefs have it 4 yards away from the goal line with 6.5 minutes to play and a half. And they have moved consistently well this afternoon. Lenny Dawson has been able to complete 6 of 10 passes, good for 82 yards with 1 interception. Paul Dixon in the ball game in the front 4 for the Vikings. He had been a regular for this football team, and last year got injured in preseason play. The ball at the 4-yard line, the Chiefs take over. Kansas City in the I formation. Now again the double tight end alignment. Running backs Wendell Hayes and Mike Garrett. Running play to Garrett. He is hit by Jim Marshall at the 5-yard line for a loss of 1. Garrett tried to move to the outside. It'll bring up 2nd down and 5. Neither team has been able to move to the outside. The footing actually is not bad now inside the 5-yard line, either for Kansas City or the Minnesota Vikings. It's interesting to note that Kansas City this year has scored 19 rushing touchdowns, and they have thrown for 16. Now the Chiefs try and exert even more pressure on the Vikings front 4. They lead 9-0, and they're about trying to get their first 6-pointer of the afternoon, but here's where the real estate is really at a premium. Chiefs are now with a pro set, 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers. Taylor wide to the right. A snap. Lenny Dawson goes for a yard, maybe a foot. He's hit between the 4 and 5 as Dixon makes the stop, and the penalty flags go down. Lenny Dawson tried to take the snap. He is not a Joe Cap running type quarterback, a classic drop-back thrower. And he got possibly a foot, but they spot the ball nearer the 5-yard line. They're talking to the defensive captain of the Vikings. So now, obviously, it's going to be against the Chiefs. Illegal motion to call. Back in motion. Was Wendell Hayes moving prematurely? It's declined. It's going to be 3rd down and 5. The Vikings want the loss of the down. 3rd down and 5. Frank Pitts out. Gloucester Richardson comes on. Gloucester has caught 23 passes, good for 2 scores. He's the younger brother of the Baltimore Colts, Willie Richardson. He's got a brother, Tom, playing in Boston. Richardson wide left. Again, the Chiefs with 2 tight ends, and the running backs are split. 3rd down and 5. Running play coming to Garrett on a top. Touchdown! Garrett scores from the 5. With 5:34 remaining here before the half, the Chiefs have just driven 19 yards and 6 plays on a top block. Garrett took it in, and you just saw outstanding line blocking up front. The pulling guard made that play, Mo Norman.
He is 6'4" and 252, Kansas City's #1 draft choice a season ago. The Chiefs are going to pick up somebody else, but Hank Stram had Mo Norman in the Senior Bowl, and you can see why he likes him. He's an outstanding blocker, and the Chiefs now lead by the score of 15-0, and are trying to make it 16-0. A touchdown occurred with 5:34 remaining in the first half. Chiefs lead the Minnesota Vikings 15-0. Holding the ball, Len Dawson. The kick is up, and it's perfect. Ball with 5:34 remaining in the first half. The Kansas City Chiefs now lead the Minnesota Vikings by the score of 16-0. Field position breaks the kicking game, the factor in this ball game, and a 5-yard run. And Bob, I would say, as you predicted before the ball game, the defenses were going to have to be a tail and the kicking game, and they have. And the Chiefs' defense has also got to be cited, plus their specialty team. Well, so far here in the first half, and the Vikings trailing 16-0 as they are, it's been all the Kansas City Chiefs, as you mentioned. It has been the defensive job turned in by the Chief defensive unit. Some great blocking along that Chief offensive line, and that time was a good example of it when they opened a fine hole for Garrett, who just breezed through it for the touchdown. And with the foot of Stenerud, we said at the beginning of the broadcast would be a factor here, certainly has been. 3 field goals, the 48, 33, and 25. He's just one short of the Super Bowl record of field goals, and the Vikings have their work cut out for them here against the Kansas City Chiefs, which so far at least appear as though they came to play just a little bit sharper than the Minnesota Vikings in this one. Don't forget that this AFL-NFL World Championship Super Bowl is being carried across the nation by the CBS Radio Network, and to our men in uniform around the world by Armed Forces Radio Service. The Vikings have given up only 4 rushing touchdowns this year, and the Chiefs have just got one right there. And there's the kickoff again by Jan Stenerud. He's kicking into a prevailing wind. The ball is handled at the 5-yard line. Charlie West runs it out to the 20, the 25, to the 30, stopped at the 32. An excellent 27-yard return by Charlie West. He's hit by Rainey Prudhomme, who picked up the fumble at the 19-yard line seconds ago, and by Caesar Belzer. I think it's interesting to note, Tom, that in this game here today, when the Minnesota Vikings have the football, they use a National League football, and when the Kansas City Chiefs have it, they use an American League football, and so far the American League football has seemed to be a little more effective. Of course, that's more of a passing type ball. The rounded head with the Duke, as they call it, used by the NFL. Joe Cap throws. Henderson makes the catch at midfield. He streaks all the way to Kansas City's 41-yard line. Quarterback Cap, with a lot of time to throw, drops straight back in the pocket. He'd won at midfield. Henderson made the catch with 2 men on him, and he finally got stopped at the 41-yard line after a 27-yard completion. They were working on Emmett Thomas, and Henderson made the grab on a low throw. Johnny Robinson was the man who finally stopped him. One thing about Cap, he plays no favorites. Henderson has caught 34 passes, Beasley 33, Gene Washington 39. On the deep patterns, though, he goes to Henderson and Gene Washington. First down with the Vikings. They're first of this quarter. 4.5 minutes to play before the intermission. Kansas City 16, the Vikings nothing. Back to throw. The quarterback, Joe Cap. He moves up in the pocket. The ball is caught at the 38-yard line and broken up. They ruled incomplete. They were trying to hit Oscar Reed, the second-year fullback from Colorado State. Reed lost his footing. Bobby Bell was there to make sure he would, along with Jim Lynch. Pretty good matchup, Reed against Bobby Bell. Bell has been clocked in the 40 at 4.4. He can still throw the football 70 yards. Many times will snap the ball back on punts. Incompleted forward pass, 2nd down and 10. Joe Cap talks to his ball club at midfield. Cap against Baltimore this year threw for 7 touchdowns, an NFL record, and good for 446 yards. The Chiefs said in that film he looked frightening. 2nd down and 10 to go at the Chiefs 41. He's back to throw. Cap will throw from midfield. The rush is put on. He scrambled, and Buck Buchanan makes the tackle at the 49. Buck Buchanan got by the center, Mick Tingeloff, and got to the Viking quarterback. And that will be a long loss of some 8 yards on the play. And that's the thing the Chiefs are doing, Bob. They're getting that good inside pressure from Buck Buchanan and from Curly Colt. Buchanan particularly has been tough to handle for that offensive line down there. Of course, you think of Cap as being a big guy, and he is, 6'3", 216. But after he gets rid of the football, you see the two of them walking back toward the line of scrimmage. Then you realize how big Buck Buchanan is. He just towers over him at 6'7", 275, and he's having a fine afternoon here today. 4 minutes of playing time remaining in the first half. Oscar Reed to the bench. Bill Brown back in at fullback for the Vikings. 3rd down and 18 to go. Both quarterbacks been had twice in the game. Kansas City now playing their Oklahoma defense with a triple stack. Cap will be back to throw, moves up in the pocket, throws one high. It's batted down to the 30. Jim Marcellus nearly intercepted. The ball was too tall, intended for John Henderson. On a crossing pattern, he could not grab the football. I started to say about Buck Buchanan, he was a standout against the Packers here 3 years ago. He got the Bart start early in the ball game and defensively had to be the big man for Kansas City, even in that loss. So the Vikings on 4th down and long again must kick it. I'll say this about the Minnesota Vikings. They're a ball club that plays as hard as anybody you will ever see. Now the Minnesota Vikings are lining up and they're going to attempt a long-range field goal. Fred Cox comes in. He'll be attempting one from some 57 yards away. There's the kick and it's short. It's grabbed at the 7-yard line by McVay, running out to the 20. He is stopped near the 24. Fred Cox tried one from 57 yards away. McVay made the grab at the 5, and he returns it out to the 23. Mick Tingelhoff, the center, has snapped the ball, goes downfield to make that tackle. 3.5 minutes to play in the first half. Kansas City 16, the Minnesota Vikings nothing. You won't see that happen very often, a 57-yard field goal attempt. Cox likes Finneru with a fine leg, and of course he, at this point, has the wind advantage. Sometimes, of course, the team will figure that a field goal attempt from that distance is as good as a punt if he can get it deep enough, and that time he got it down at the 7-yard line, and McVay got it out up over the 20, which is a good run back. Running play to McVay. McVay tries to move outside. He is stopped at the 23 by Alan Page. He got out to for middle linebacker Lonnie Warwick. McVay has scored 7 touchdowns for Kansas City. He's got the longest run from scrimmage, an 80-yarder. He broke up the Cincinnati Bengal game. Coach Paul Brown, now with the Bengals, says he's the fastest man for the 40 I've ever seen. McVay's senior year at the University of Houston, he averaged 10 yards a carry. So the Chiefs come out with the ball at the 22-yard line. Fred and McVay with a loss of 1. 2nd down and 11. Len Dawson on the toss play to McVay, turning the corner at the 25. He's hit by 3 men. Led primarily by the right tackle, Alan Page. McVay turns the corner for 3 yards. And with the Chiefs, 3rd down and 8. The Chiefs generated 2 drives a moment ago by clicking on the 3rd down call. Now the ball's the 25, 3rd down and 8. 2 minutes, 19 seconds to play in the first half. Kansas City 16, the Minnesota Vikings nothing. The Chiefs have exerted outstanding defensive pressure, used their specialty teams and kicking game. As John Stennard has kicked 3 field goals, and Mike Garrett scored a 5-yard touchdown. That one set up on the fumble by Charlie West to the 19-yard line. 2-minute warnings being given to both benches, and it's now 16-0 in favor of Kansas City. The Minnesota Viking defense will talk it over the 25. With this opportunity, Hank Stram now will visit with quarterback Len Dawson. Just a reminder that over most of these CBS Radio Network stations, the Pro Bowl from Los Angeles Coliseum will come your way next Sunday, January 18th. Incidentally, there are 8 members of the Vikings who are on that Pro Bowl team. Here, with 2 minutes to play in the first quarter, the story has been all Kansas City. The game plan of Hank Stram has worked to perfection. They have maintained ball control. They have had fine field position. The defensive unit has turned in a spectacular job, causing a couple of fumbles. And, of course, nothing can be said superlative about Jan Stenerud, superfluous about his foot, because he's been just great. He opened the scoring with a 48-yard field goal in the first period. He's added 1 of 33 and 1 of 25. And then when the Vikings when the Chiefs got great field position at the 19-yard line as a result of a fumble in 6 plays, Lenny Dawson took him in and sent Garrett across with the score, and it is 16-0 here with 2 minutes to play in the first half in favor of the Kansas City Chiefs. They have the ball at their own 25, and here we go again. Lenny Dawson has passed the ball well today. He's been able to click thus far in the ball game for 91 passing yards. He's got a slot to the far side. He's picked up 8 first and 10s. He sends McVay sweeping right into the 30. McVay is knocked out of bounds between the 33 and 34. Very close for first and 10. Carl Eller was the man who ran him down. There's a good match. Eller, who can run the 40-yard dash in 4.5. McVay's been clocked at 4.2, and they want to measure to see whether or not McVay picked up the necessary 8 yards for the first and 10. The biggest statistic thus far have been the turnovers, because at this point, the Vikings have 2 fumbles, 1 interception, only 1 interception for Kansas City in the first half. Total yardage only 30 yards between the two squads. The Chiefs have a first and 10. Kansas City's 9th first and 10. And the ball will come out to the 34-yard line as McVay turned the corner. Well, depth again is going to be a factor in the Super Bowl. Hank Stram can call on the likes of Warren McVay and Wendell Hayes to run to the outside, backstopping Mike Garrett and Bobby Holmes. Already, Coach Bud Grant has gone with Clinton Jones running back kicks and Oscar Reed at fullback, replacing Bill Brown. On first and 10, Lenny Dawson on the end-around play to Frank Pitts at the 35 to the 40. He is out to the 44-yard line. Frank Pitts on the end-around play moves downfield, and Kansas City again has got a first and 10. Second time that one is flicked for a long gain. It's a 10-yard pickup on a Chiefs first and 10. Their 10th of the afternoon. Carl Eller was the man who drove him out of bounds.
And with 1 minute and 28 seconds of playing time remaining here in the first quarter, this obviously, as far as the Vikings is concerned, has to be the quickest football team that they have seen all year long. It's obvious, the way they're reacting along that defensive line, that they're just a little bit off balance. And the Kansas City Chiefs, so far here, have put it all together. 1:28 to go, and they lead 16-0. Lonnie Dawson to the sideline. At midfield, Taylor makes the catch on a hitch pattern, a short gain on the out, and he got hit immediately by cornerback Ursel McBee. You know, this has been a very interesting matchup between Dave Hill of Kansas City against Carl Eller. Many thought before the ball game in the Chiefs camp that could be the difference. Well, he played very well in the Ram game against Deacon Jones. He played quite well against Richard Jackson at Denver, and Dave Hill thus far is containing Carl Eller at left end. For the Chiefs, second down 7, Lenny Dawson on the draw play to Wendell Hayes. He's out to midfield and stopped to the Viking 49. That'll be a pickup of 3 yards for Wendell Hayes. Gary Larson in to make the tackle with 49 seconds to play in the first half. Kansas City 16, the Minnesota Vikings nothing. The Chiefs have done this job primarily going through the air lanes. Len Dawson is having an outstanding first half. He's having time to throw. He's moving from side to side, dropping back one time, moving on the left side one side, to the right the other side. And anytime you see a quarterback get that much time to throw, 5 seconds, a quarterback is going to have time to lay that ball in perfectly. So 49 seconds remain here in the first half. Hope you're enjoying the ball game wherever you're listening. In this country, of course, on CBS Radio and all over the world. Nice to be talking to our servicemen here at Tulane Stadium or the Sugar Bowl here in the Crescent City. Now we got some unbelievers down below us. Some of the Oakland Raider fans who come all the way across the country carrying a sign along the sidelines which reads, Oakland Raiders, still number 1. Well, with the way this ball game is going, I think the Kansas City Chiefs might have a little argument for them right there. Colorful crowd here of over 80,000 watching this, the 1969 Super Bowl game. The last in this particular alignment, of course, because the league becomes 1 next year. Third down again for the Chiefs, 4 yards to go. Lenny Dawson moves back in a shotgun formation. He has clicked on his last 3. Third down calls. A snap from Howard. Dawson back, throws over the middle. It stops and almost intercepted to the 42-yard line by Wally Hilgenberg. He had the football caught and then dropped it. Dawson had the rush put on him from the shotgun formation. Now, the reason the Chiefs do that, they save about a second and a half. The quarterback rifled the ball because of hard pressure up the middle from Page and Carl Eller. You know, one of Hank Stram's particular theories is that in the 70s, football, pro football, is going to be a century of variety against what they like to call the bread and butter football. And that's what we're getting here today, a combination of the two. The Vikings, noted for their bread and butter, stay at basic football, and the variety of the Kansas City Chiefs. Back to kick the ball, Gerald Wilson, who averaged 44 yards a try. Bob Grimm will be catching the football at the 15-yard line. And that's the first time we've seen the first catch today with the Minnesota Vikings. They will take over the 15, and that's the first punt this afternoon for Kansas City, as Gerald Wilson, who twice has led the AFL in kicking, kicked the ball back to the 15-yard line. Penalty flag is down at midfield. And now the referee comes back, John McDonough, the American Football League.
to discuss it with the offensive captain of Kansas City. And, of course, will be quarterback Lenny Dawson. He and Jim Tyre, the two co-captains for Kansas City. And apparently it's going to be a mark-off against the Kansas City Chiefs. They're moving it back 5 yards. The Chiefs were offside. That'll place the ball back to the 46-yard line. Legal motion, actually, the call, but a 5-yarder. And again, Gerald Wilson will kick the ball. He has kicked one 64 yards this season. The owner of the ball club, Lamar Hunt, calls him Thunderfoot. Chiefs with half a minute to play in the half lead Minnesota 16-0. The rush put on the kick. It is down to the 22-yard line, going over the head of Charlie West, and it's going to be grounded inside the 10. At the 9-yard line, Caesar Belzer goes down to ground the ball, and so actually the Vikings lost 5 yards. That'll put the ball at the 10-yard line. They're 90 yards away from the goal line with 28 seconds to play in the first half. And again, you cite the Kansas City kicking game. Last week in Oakland in the championship ball game, the Chiefs were trailing in that first half 7-0. Gerald Wilson averaged 47 yards to try and hemmed up the Oakland Raiders. Vikings will take over. Again there in the pro set, dropping back to throw at the goal line. Joe Kapp, he moves up in the pocket. Now he's throwing one deep down the middle for Gene Washington in a foot race. And the 30-yard line is broken up by Emmett Thomas, and he got some help from John Robinson. Double coverage as Joe Kapp just threw that football 70 yards in the air. What an arm he has. I know what Jim Grant was saying about him, Bud Grant rather, and Jim Finks, the general manager. They said, you should have seen him 5 years ago in Canada. He could run faster and could throw farther. But he just unleashed one, 70 yards, and we saw speed against speed. Gene Washington, who won the Big Ten hurdles, an outstanding sprinter, tried to catch the ball at the 30-yard line. The Chiefs anticipated that, and Johnny Robinson, the defensive quarterback, went back with Emmett Thomas to pick him up. You'll see him patrolled in the double-team fashion out of his zone most of the afternoon. Busted play, Kapp comes back. He is tackled by Buchanan at the 12-yard line. Joe Kapp recovers. Buchanan has made his third big play of the first half. 3 seconds remaining in the first half. The Chiefs are going to leave the intermission mark with a score of 16-0. And the first half ends with a score, Kansas City 16, the Minnesota Vikings nothing.
Next Sunday on KSFO, the NFL Pro Bowl, the East-West Division All-Stars, with that game to begin at 12:50. Hear the Lon Simmons Sports Roundup at 5:45, Monday through Saturday.
At the Super Bowl at halftime at 16-0, the Chiefs have done it on 3 field goals by Jan Stenerud. He started out with a 48-yarder, then he added a 33-yard field goal, a 25-yarder. There was a fumble to 19 recovered by Ramey Prudhomme, and with 5:34 to go before the half, Garrett took it in. Stenerud kicked the point, and at halftime, the Chiefs are leading Minnesota 16-0. They're doing it because they're moving the football with quarterback Len Dawson. He has clicked on 3 straight third down calls, and he's doing a tremendous job, too, with his defense. Buck Buchanan has been the defensive leader for Kansas City. They've gotten to Joe Kapp twice at quarterback. The specialty team for Kansas City has done a job. And like Bud Grant said, field position and the kicking games are going to be vitally important, and they have been that. But the thing that I think has been the difference for Kansas City has been their kicking game, primarily led by Jan Stenerud, and the fact that whenever they've had to do a good job covering a kick, they've come back to do that. The Minnesota Vikings, have not been able to establish their running attack, and when they've thrown the ball down deep for Gene Washington, they've had double coverage on him, primarily Emmett Thomas, and then the safety man, Johnny Robinson, has also gone back. And then Dave Hill has come to the fore. He has contained Carl Eller in the first half, and it's 16-0 here at Tulane Stadium as the Kansas City Chiefs are leading by some 3 field goals and a touchdown, and the Vikings really have not had good field position. They got a 1st and 10 early, picked up only a couple of 1st and 10s in the second quarter. And at halftime, we've got, the Southern University Band, the 128 Cougars. That happens to be the alma mater of Bobby Holmes, the Chiefs fullback. Taking a look at the unofficial statistics, Kansas City picked up 10 1st and 10s in the first half. The Vikings had 4. Kansas City had 78 yards rushing. They had 20 on an end-around play by Pitts, another 10-yard gain. The Vikings had only 26 yards rushing. Joe Kapp has thrown the ball 14 times, completed 8 for 86 yards. Lenny Dawson, 7 for 11 for 84 yards. Penalty, 3 against the Vikings for 31 yards, 2 against the Chiefs for 20. The turnover is a big factor. There have been 2 fumbles lost for the Vikings. They've had 1 interception, only 1 interception by Kansas City. On 3rd down, Joe Kapp has gone 0 for 5 on the play down. And the Chiefs quarterback, Lenny Dawson, clicked on 3 in a row. He happens to be 3 for 7. At halftime, Bob, the thing that's impressed me about this game has been the line play. We thought coming in it would be a physical game. Defensive captain of Kansas City, Jerry Mays, said that. He said, I don't think it's going to be a defensive game. I think it's going to be a physical game. And thus far, it has been a battle with those folks up front. I don't think there's any question about that, Tom, and the score is indicative of just that. Because of the physical portion of this ball game, why the Kansas City Chiefs have simply taken control of it. They've had the great field position, and they have been able to capitalize on the field position every time they've had the opportunity. Now, down on the field, the great operatic star, Marguerite Piazza, along with Al Hurt, and I'm sure you'd like to hear them both. Tremendous voice the young lady has, and what a tremendous horn, of course, the incomparable Al Hurt. And as the two of them, after entertaining here, move to the sidelines now, the attention focuses on the field of the great Southern University marching band. And while they are getting ready to move, we'll pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the CBS Radio Network.
Hi, this is Terry McGovern, and I'm on the radio every morning from 6 to 9 with voices and records and little warm, furry things and plenty to eat and drink. So why don't you come by? KSFO in San Francisco.
Back up here in the broadcast booth with me, the Commissioner of Football, Pete Rozelle. And I know that he has enjoyed this first half as much as all of us have. Pete, this is a ball game I think you can simply say that in the first half at least, Kansas City has certainly dominated.
Well, they certainly did. Many people felt, and it's been proven, I believe, so far, that perhaps this is the most physical pairing of teams we've had in the 4 years of the Super Bowl. Very, very strong. And the Kansas City defense has been awfully tough the first half, but of course the Vikings have a great defense too, except that Glenn Dawson was able to penetrate it with some excellent play calling and fine passing, and that's why they've got those 16 on the board.
This is still a game of football, isn't it, Pete? Because obviously with Stenerud's great foot, that's made a tremendous difference. Plus the fact that their great punter, Gerald Wilson, has given them great field position too.
Well, Stenerud's done a great job for someone who went to college on a skiing scholarship.
Pete, I know that the fans are interested in the future of the National Football League. It's indicative of that when you get 80,000 people here to see this, and it's been that kind of a thing all season long throughout both the American and National Football League. The attendance setting a record each and every Sunday almost, and I know that they're interested in the future plans. This is the last year that the American Football League and the National Football League will operate separately. Next year becomes the National Football League with the American and the National Conferences. Now, what about the alignment of teams? The American League, I know, is secure in theirs, but you're still having some problems with these owners in the National League to get them to agree.
We haven't been able to align the 13 National Conference clubs yet, Bob, into 2 14 divisions and 1 5. We spent a little time on it yesterday here in the midst of all of our other social and business activities. And we're going to reconvene in New York City Wednesday, and I would think that we will have that last phase, actually, of the merger problems concluded by the latter part of this coming week.
I know, of course, that I wouldn't ask where the stumbling block is, but it would appear that if a decision isn't reached by the owners agreeing amongst themselves, that you as commissioner will have to step in pretty soon because of the schedule making coming up. Too much of a delay would cause considerable problems.
Yes, we do have to work on our schedule, and I think that the owners will resolve it this week, but one way or another, it certainly has to be done.
Pete, now about the playoffs next year, with each conference having one division of 4, another division of 4, and one of 5. That's an upward situation in a way. How are you going to arrange the playoffs in that situation?
Well, it should be quite interesting. We'll, of course, have the 3 divisional winners qualifying for the playoffs in their conference, and then we'll take the second-best team, the team with the second-best percentage in the 3 conferences of the 3 divisions, and that would be the 4th team to qualify for the playoffs.
And what about the runner-up bowl, or whatever they prefer to call it down in Miami? Who will be involved in that one?
Well, we haven't really made a decision on the future of that playoff bowl. We'll take that up when we have our annual meeting in March out in Hawaii.
Is there a possibility, perhaps, that the two best teams or the two runner-ups in the two conferences might play that?
If it's played, that would probably be the format.
I see. Well, then there is a question as to whether or not the game will be played.
That's right. That's what we have to decide in March. It may or may not continue.
What about the Super Bowl and the future of it? The first one was in Los Angeles, Miami. Hey, I wish they cut that out. This thing is back to shape. And this one here in New Orleans, and this great Crescent City has done a remarkable job in getting ready for it under some stress and strain. What about the future sites of the Super Bowl?
Well, we've been playing that by year on a year-to-year basis, as you know, Bob. During the 4-year interim period here, prior to the final culmination of the merger, we've added used 2 NFL and 2 AFL cities, of course. And we're going to again take that up in March and decide as to next year and whether we'll keep rotating it or pick a permanent site, but we really haven't discussed it yet.
Also, of course, many of the fans discussed the playoff games, conference championship games. It was brought to mind, of course, with the tremendous cold in the game played at Green Bay, and then this year when the National Conference 2 games were played at Bloomington, Minnesota, in the severe cold there. A lot of pros and cons in that regard about the possibility that the game quite conceivably might at least be moved to a neutral site or to a warm weather city. And the other side of the coin, you get the owners' reaction that their fans deserve to see it. But
I think that latter view will dominate. We have no plans to alter the format as an example of what we had this year. I think we would have the Super Bowl and a single all-star game at a warm weather neutral site. But we would continue to have the playoffs and also the conference championships played in one of the league cities.
Pete, thank you very much for visiting with us. With the Battle of New Orleans going on all over again, I think we better take cover. But it's been a real pleasure to have this opportunity to visit with you. And on behalf of CBS, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate you for a tremendous administrative job that you have done this past year, as in the past, and to wish you nothing but the greatest of success in the future.
Thank you, Bob.
Pete Rozelle, Commissioner of all football, here enjoying this one. And down below us, as the halftime activity continues, we almost lost our monitor up here with the shelling going on. We're having the Battle of New Orleans all over again, Tom Hedrick, and I don't know who's going to win the Battle of New Orleans, but I know one thing, that they better stop shooting at us or the whole thing's going to collapse to the heat. We'll have more halftime activities for you, but right now, let's pause for a moment.
Does today's gasoline really give better mileage than what we had in the old days?
That's a question for Shell's Answer Man. Here's his answer.
It sure does. For example, 1 gallon of today's Super Shell, blended with platformate and other mileage ingredients, helps the modern engine deliver about 50% better mileage than a gallon of our 1930 formula. 50% better mileage. Next question, please.
I know you get worse gasoline mileage at high speeds than at low ones, but why? Because the carburetor is wide open or what?
The main reason high-speed driving really eats up gasoline is wind resistance. For instance, a standard sedan may have to put out over 4 times more horsepower to fight the headwind created at 80 miles per hour than it does at 40. Naturally, when you have to put out that kind of power, you must sacrifice mileage. So to get even better mileage from Super Shell, don't buck the headwind created by high speeds. Keep your speed down.
Thank you. The Answer Man is brought to you by Super Shell. Super Shell, the good mileage gasoline.
Will be there, and what a clash that should be. Indeed it should. Now, not out on the field, joining Al Hurt, one of the greats of all time, Mr. Vibes himself, Lionel Hampton. Let's get on and listen.
this crowd of 80,000 gives you an idea of how they love Mr. Albert and Mr. Lionel Hampton.
The Jazz Funeral. Their names read like jazz poetry.
And they just announced that it's been a tie in this Super Bowl here this afternoon between Al Hurt and Doc Severinsen. I guess everybody will accept that.
These jazz strings will live with
This great halftime show here at the Tulane Stadium in New Orleans for the 1969 Super Bowl game drawing to a close, and shortly we'll be underway with the second half of action. Now some of the old great jazz names in New Orleans history down below on the field coming out to serenade the crowd with the photographers, the cameras snapping pictures of them. This, of course, is the home of jazz, and one need but to travel down to Bourbon Street and see what we mean.
Bob, you know, we talk about football country, all over the country, Minnesota, Kansas City. Everybody wants to claim that with a fine team, but this is the home of jazz, New Orleans. And any place you go on Bourbon Street or New Orleans, you really are thrilled by the music you hear. And you talk about creativity, that has to be jazz. Right across there, of course, plugging the next big event coming down here in the Crescent City, Mardi Gras. I'd like to remind everybody that next Sunday, in the L.A. Coliseum, the Pro Bowl. That'll be an outstanding ball game. Last year was won 10-7. Bill Brown led the Western Stars. They won a game. Owen Gabriel will be quarterbacking that game. Fran Tarkenton, Gale Sayers, the number one rusher in the National Football League, and 8 members of the Minnesota Vikings will be there. What a contest. The Pro Bowl next week over most of these CBS radio network stations. I'm taking a look at the first half statistics just to kind of re-emphasize what we talked about. Kansas City's got 10 first and 10s. They today are the home team. Minnesota with 4. Total offensive yardage, the Chiefs have 147 yards, the Vikings 96. The difference comes in 2 categories. Number 1, the rushing. Kansas City with 77 yards, the Vikings with 24 altogether. The passing almost even. Cap is 8 for 14 for 72 yards. Dawson 7 of 11 for 70 yards net. But the turnovers, again, are the factor. 2 fumbles lost for the Vikings, 1 interception by Cap, only 1 turnover for Kansas City. And any Chiefs fan will tell you, Viking fan will say, remember, when this ball club, the Minnesota Vikings, were playing at home in the Western Conference title game, trailing the Rams 17-7. They rallied. They came from a half. They were led by their great quarterback, Joe Cap, and Cap actually won the game on a 2-yard plunge, going to the outside. Carl Eller came back to nail down the victory, 23-20 on the safety. So anytime the Vikings get in a ball game like this, for all the marbles, you can rest assured they'll come roaring right back. The Kansas City Chiefs right now enjoy a 16-point margin. They've done it with their kicking game. They've had field position. Now they're going to try to let their defense take over and hope to keep control and keep that ball away from the Minnesota Vikings. Physically, they felt coming into the game. I talked to Otto Graham today, former Washington Redskins coach, and asked him what he thought about the game. I said, do you think 13 or 14 points would be too much? He said, yeah. He said, it's got to be a break. Here and there, it's going to make a world of difference. I was asking George Sauer, who's now the general manager in Boston, what he thought. He said, if Kansas City plays like it has, I'll tell you this, he said they could beat anybody because they've got a standout defense. I know Bud Grant was mighty impressed with Kansas City when they met in Bloomington a year ago. Said the thing that impressed him was the size of Kansas City. Buck Buchanan, the speed of Bobby Bell, and of course he said their quarterback is the heart of that football team. In the first half, the Chiefs have done it. But those are the stars, people like Dawson, etc., but never minimize the blocking of Kansas City, led by Mo Mormon and Dave Hill on the right side, and defensively, the play of Buck Buchanan. Once again, let's have a little jazz for you from right here in the Crescent City, New Orleans, at Tulane Stadium. As you can tell from the roar of the crowd, things going on. This, of course, is Mardi Gras City. Not this time, it comes just before Ash Wednesday. But in a preview of Mardi Gras, thousands and thousands of multicolored balloons being released to the skies. And down along the sidelines, the great Lionel Hampton, joined by Al Hurt and Doc Severinsen, really putting out with the soul music. Dixie just had to be born here in New Orleans.
full floats, helium-filled. I'll tell you, Tom, if they think they had a crowd here for the Super Bowl game, when you get down here at Mardi Gras time, you can't even get on Bourbon Street. You can hardly get into the city. They really tear it up. It's really tough. You and I were talking about going to Antoine's last night. We wouldn't be let in until Wednesday. I went down there and waited about 2 hours myself. Well, you know, it's great when you've got standing room only, and I can see why people would come down here. Great city. They've got Bourbon Street. And you just take a look at this Mardi Gras we're seeing right before our very eyes. The pregame, the halftime show, we talk about this being a super game, which it is, but I can't get over all the festivities we see all the time. It could be a little distracting if they didn't take the football teams and sort of quartered them outside of the town. I know the Minnesota Vikings stayed out by the airport, and Bud Grant was said, well, do you have any problem keeping your football players occupied? He said, no, they go across the street and watch the airplanes take off and land, and then come back home. The Kansas City Chiefs, as you very well know, stayed at the Fontainebleau here, and that's a little bit out of town, too, and Coach Graham had his players pretty much under control, too. So the distractions were really for the great 25,000 fans or more who came here to watch it, and they have had it. We'll be back with the second half kickoff shortly.
Fact. The 1970 Ford Torino two-door hardtop has a totally new design. Longer, lower, and wider. More passenger room, luggage space, and engine size. Fact. The Torino two-door hardtop is your Ford dealer's lowest priced hardtop. Fact. When you can get something new for something less, you'd better get it. Fact. Torino is new. It has a new two-way suspension system, a new flow-through ventilation system, and Torino offers you your choice of 5 high-efficiency V8s. Fact. The new Torino two-door hardtop is your Ford dealer's lowest-priced hardtop. If you're used to paying top dollar for a good-looking intermediate, better look at the facts. The Torino two-door hardtop is our lowest-priced hardtop. Facts favor Ford.
Record halftime of the Sugar Bowl. Our score is 16-0 at halftime. The Chiefs are leading. Bud Grant, 42-year-old National Football League Coach of the Year, has just talked to his Vikings. The 5,000 Viking fans have come to their feet. Coach Hank Stram is now 46 years of age, the original coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. His club has won no less than 87 ball games, dropped 49, and had 5 ties. He's talked to his squad. Both these guys are winners. They believe in discipline. They believe in defense. Offensively, they look at it a little bit differently. Physically, they're entirely different. Hank Stram, a very enthusiastic, outgoing guy. Coach Bud Grant, very soft-spoken, but what he says, well, people listen to. He's a guy that's a born leader. Both are outstanding athletes at their respective institutions. For example, Bud Grant was an 8 letterman at the University of Minnesota. Played in the National Football League, was a defensive end 1 year for Philadelphia, the next year an offensive end. Went to Winnipeg when Allie Sherman took over the job, with the New York Giants. Hank Stram has been the only coach the Chiefs have had, and the thing he has done has been quite an innovator. He's had that moving pocket, the triple stack. He's also been able to put in the tight-eye formation, and his ball club, it has National Football League size, been able to win its last 4 confrontations with National Football League opponents. Matter of fact, I remember what John McKay told me last year when he saw Len Dawson at quarterback. He said, I have never seen a quarterback have a better half than Dawson did in that game. The Chiefs beating the Rams 42-14, and Dawson passed for some 306 yards in the first half. Now to take you through the second half action, the voice of the Detroit Lions for 17 years, sports director, one of the great CBS affiliates in the United States, WJR Detroit. Here's our running mate, Bob Reynolds. Thank you, Tom. Once again, we're all set to go here. And atmospherically, at least, although we started the game with the temperatures around 61 and a tornado alert, the sun now trying to break through here at New Orleans. The lights have been on throughout the course of the first half. To start the second half of play, the Vikings will kick off to the Kansas City Chiefs, leading as they are 16-0 and dropping back in the safety spots to receive the kickoff for Kansas City. Wendell Hayes on the far side and Bobby Holmes on the near side. It will be Cox who'll do the booting off. Kansas City Chiefs leading the first quarter 3-0. At the end of the half, 16-0. And don't forget that at the end of the half in the championship game at Minnesota, the Rams were out in front of these same Minnesota Vikings 17-7. The Vikings have their work cut out for them here, trailing going into the third period here, 16-0. So don't go away as this 1969 Super Bowl game goes into its second half of action. Cox dropping back and ready to kick. Wendell Hayes and Bobby Holmes back to receive, standing on the goal line. And the referee said, all right, let's get it underway. And here we go. Cox comes forward. Here's his booth. Good long one deep. Going to be grabbed by Wendell Hayes about 5 yards deep into the end zone, and he starts out to the 5, to the 10. Hit and dropped around the 15-yard line. Making the stop on him there, Bill Harris, who plays on the specialty teams for the Minnesota Vikings. And so, as we get set to play here, it will be first down and 10 for Kansas City at their own 15-yard line. The Chiefs have returned 41 kickoffs this year for an average of 26.6 every time, and they lead the league in that division. First and 10 for them at their own 15-yard line. It'll be Taylor, Pitts, and Arvidas, the receivers. Dawson at quarterback. Garrett and Holmes, the running backs. And wide to the right now, McVay is in there along with Wendell Hayes to start this second half. Otis Taylor is wide to the right. And here's Dawson handing it off to McVay. McVay turning the corner with his left is hit and driven out of bounds on the far side. The first man to hit him, Jim Marshall. And there'll be a gain on the play to around the 20-yard line. Gain of 5, second down and 5 for Kansas City. In the opening moments of this, the third quarter of play. Warren McVay, young speedster, played his college ball at the University of Houston, traded to the Chiefs by Cincinnati. Second down and 5, Kansas City at their own 20-yard line. Out of the huddle they come. They send Otis Taylor as the flanker wide to the right. Two tight ends in there. From the I formation, they slip. Setbacks. Dawson in possession. Drops back quickly. Fires it over here to Taylor. Taylor's got it at the 25. Is hit and dropped immediately right there by Herschel McVie, the first man to hit it. We'll see where they allow the forward Marcus. It's over the 25, and so it is. A first down. And Garrett comes in, and McVay goes out. Another first down for Kansas City, and they have it first and 10 at their own 26-yard line. Minnesota Vikings standing up along the sidelines on the far end of the field. Coming in now is Charlie West. Out of there goes Ed Shirachman. Herschel McVie. Along that defensive secondary, Carl Kasoki. So it is first down and 10, and Gloucester Richardson in there. The ball handed off to Garrett, and Garrett darts his way off the right tackle spot, up over the 30-yard line with it before he's hauled down by the linebackers, all of them. Roy Winston, Lonnie Warwick, and Wally Hilgenberg, all getting a shot at him at the 31. Gain of 5 on the play, second down and 5 at the 31-yard line. Kansas City in possession at their own 31. We're in the opening moments of this, the third quarter of play here from Tulane Stadium in New Orleans, the 1969 Super Bowl game, the big one. Dawson now breaks him out of the huddle, led over the ball by E.J. Hall of the center. The guards are Ed Buddy and Mo Moorman, Tyra and Gill of the tackles. Dawson at quarterback has one flanker wide to the left. The ball is handed off this time to Wendell Hayes, and he's hit immediately as Lonnie Warwick broke through there to make the tackle on him. There will be a loss on this play of a yard back to the 30, third down and 6 now for Kansas City. And again, we come up with those key third down situations in which during the first half at least the Kansas City Chiefs were able to pick them up. 3rd and 6 at the 30-yard line. 12 minutes of playing time remaining in the third quarter, 16-0, Kansas City leading. Dawson taking his time in the huddle now, breaks him out of it. They send Gloucester Richardson wide to the right. Garrett is in the slot to the left, and Dawson goes back to throw, throws it quickly, and it is caught beautifully over there by Garrett, and Garrett is hauled down by Ed Shirachman. Garrett making a fine catch on the play, up around the 38-yard line. Picked up about 8 yards and another first down for the Chiefs. Dawson going back, getting good protection from that line of his, firing it, letting it go. Garrett making a great catch. Shirachman grabbed him around the neck and finally hauled him down, but not until he picked up yardage in the first down at the 38. Dawson is 9 out of 13 for 90 yards so far. First down and 10. The ball at the 38-yard line. From the I formation, the shift to the setbacks. 2 receivers are wide. Dawson faking, dropping back, looking, firing it over here in the flat, and it is no good. A fine defensive play that time by Herschel McVie. The intended receiver Buster Richardson. And Herschel McBee right on the spot defensively. We noticed 2 plays ago, Bob, a change was made at flanker back. Taylor's come out. He's had a problem with that groin pull, and right now he's resting on the sideline with his coach, Hank Stram, and Richardson has replaced him. And another thing we should note, Kansas City has picked up 91 yards rushing in the game. I don't know if Mike Garrett feels the rushing attack has been implemented by having people like Wendell Hayes and McVay. A running back, as you know, gets hit throughout the afternoon, and they like to give these running backs a lot of rest. Second down at 10 now for Kansas City at their own 38-yard line. High formation of the backfield for the Chiefs. Now they shift out of it. They send Pitts wide to the left. Buster Richardson to the right. Dawson with it, faking, dropping back in the pocket. Throws a little screen at the 30-yard line in there to Hayes, and Hayes fights his way up over the 40. That's dropped around the 41. Jim Marshall, the man in there to make the stop on him. They'll mark it as the 41. Gain of 3 on the play. Third down and 7 now for Kansas City at their own 41-yard line. 16-0, Kansas City leading. Those who like to dabble in such things said that the Chiefs were coming in here about anywhere from 11, 12 to 13-point underdogs. They have not played like it, I'll tell you that. They have carried it every moment to the Minnesota Vikings. 3rd and 7 now. Here's Dawson with it, rolling out to the right this time, firing it over the middle, and a flag goes down as he hits Arbanas, his tight end with it, up around the 48-yard line. But there was a flag on the play, and it looks like it'll be a holding penalty here. Flag went down as Dawson rolled a little bit to the right. Arbanas, his tight end, went down about 10 and then cut in toward the center. They hit him with it, and the holding penalty of 15 will be charged against the Kansas City Chiefs. And that will move the ball well back into Kansas City territory. That's the 3rd penalty now against Kansas City for 35 yards. And the walk-off places the ball down at the 19. Holding penalty. Kansas City Chiefs along the sidelines watching the action. Big Bobby Bell, one of the great linebackers. Played with Minnesota. Dale Hackbard is in there now. Going out of the lineup for the Minnesota Vikings is Gary Larson, and Hackbard comes in to take his place. The ball's at the 19, where it'll be 3rd down and about 29 to go. 2 wide receivers wide to the right this time as Dawson looks over the defense. Just a 3-man rush up front if they rush. The ball handed off to Garrett. Garrett running to his left, got a blocker in front of him, tries to turn the corner, is dumped at the 25. Dale Hackbard coming in along with Wally Hilgenberg to make the stop at the 25. A gain of 6 on the play to bring up a 4th and 23.
That time you might say, why on 3rd down long would you call a sweep to the opposite side? Hank Stram did that because here's where you don't want to throw the pass. You throw that thing up for grabs with Sherlockman playing on one cornerback and the other side McBee. They can intercept and take it in for an easy score. And with a blitzer, guys firing in, that's a pretty good call. And that brings up 4th and long and Wilson to kick it.
Gerald Wilson with the fine average of 44.4, his 2nd punt of the afternoon. The pass is a little high, but he gets a booming kick away that drives Charlie West all the way back to the 20-yard line with it. Up he goes to the 25, is hit at the 30 and wrestled down, and they'll give him to the 30-yard line on it. A booming kick by Gerald Wilson. 55 yards in the air. And as the sun now comes out and shines brilliantly, the Minnesota Vikings sending the offensive unit in, will put it in play. 1st down and 10. We'll call it at the 30-yard line. It's just a matter of inches over the 30. Joe Kapp at quarterback will set that defense, that offensive backfield for you. 2 wide receivers. Washington is wide to the left. Henderson to the right. Joe Kapp at quarterback. 1st and 10, Minnesota. Here's Kapp with it. Gives it off to Brown. And Brown is pulled down by Curly Culp, who has played himself 1 football game here this afternoon. And there was little of any gain on the play. Call it 2nd down and 10 to go. Minnesota 2nd and 10 at their own 30-yard line. 16-0. The Kansas City Chiefs leading the Minnesota Vikings here. And the sun now has broken through and is shining brilliantly. 2nd and 10, Minnesota at their own 30-yard line. Joe Kapp calling the signal. 4-man line with the linebackers in tight. A fake to Osborne, and Kapp rolls to his left. Fires down here to Beasley, his tight end. And Beasley gets it around the 45. Jim Kearney is the man who makes the defensive play on Beasley, and we have an injured player. It looks like Emmett Thomas down there for the Kansas Chief, shaken up on the play. About 16-yard gain to the 46-yard line. So that is a first down for Minnesota. When play is resumed, it will be 1st and 10 for them at their own 46-yard line. Timeout is called on the field with the score. Kansas City 16, Minnesota nothing.
A Shell dealer told me that my car runs mainly on air, not gasoline. Is he kidding?
That's a question for Shell's Answer Man. And here he is with the answer.
No kidding. Your car does use lots more air than gasoline. Your carburetor may mix, say 15 pounds of air with each pound of Super Shell at cruising speed. Now, this ratio of air to fuel is very important for good gasoline. Too little air, then you're just plain wasting money. So if your mileage seems out of whack and you suspect your carburetor, tip off your Shell dealer. He may have some money-saving suggestions.
This Platformate you talk about, that's why Super Shell gives good mileage, right?
Well, it's not the only reason, not by a long shot. We put several other ingredients in Super Shell that work with Platformate to help you get good mileage. But Platformate is an important reason we call Super Shell good mileage gasoline.
Thank you. The Answer Man is brought to you by the makers of Super Shell. Super Shell good mileage gasoline.
Back at Tulane Stadium here in New Orleans, Bob Reynolds along with Tom Hedrick. Cap that time picking up the first down. It was the first of his third down situations here today out of 6 attempts that he's been able to make. And this one he did at the 46-yard line on his pass completion to his tight end, John Beasley. So it is 1st and 10, Minnesota at their own 46-yard line, 16-0. Kansas City leads here with 7:55 remaining in the third quarter. Cap with 2 wide receivers, Henderson and Washington. Hands the ball off on a quick opener to Brown, and Brown fouls straight ahead. Gets a couple of yards maybe to the 48-yard line. Big Buck Buchanan was in there. Willie Lanier, the middle linebacker. Kent Kramer, who's in there to do some blocking, did a fine job on that one. Here comes Beasley back into the lineup now. And Kramer, who was in for that play, has gone out of there. Kramer caught a pass for a touchdown 2 weeks ago in Minnesota. So here we go. 2nd and 8 at the 48-yard line. Henderson is to the left. Washington to the right. Beasley split out a little bit. Cap looking. Now he's going to have to run with the ball, and he gets a little hole, too. Puts his head down and is banged down hard at the 45-yard line. Willie Lanier and Bobby Bell in to make the stop, and Cap got hit that time at the 45-yard line of Kansas City. About 7 yards on the play. They'll be short a yard, make it third down and about a yard to go for the first down. They move the ball back to the 45, so it'll be 3rd and 2 now. Third down on the short 2 yards to go for the first down for the Vikings. They are at the 45-yard line, the Kansas City Chiefs. And Cap, who can really put his head down and dig, really got belted that time by Bobby Bell and Willie Lanier. 1 receiver, that's all, wide to the left. That's Henderson. Cap calling the signals. That defensive line jammed in there tight. Osborne trying for the first down. He gets inside the 45. It'll be close. And we may get a measurement here. Kansas City defense that time in tight. While we get the measurement, we pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the CBS Radio Network.
This is Jack.
Cap and Buck Buchanan have been the big men on a previous running play. Lanier hit the quarterback Cap, and Cap, incidentally, on third down calls today has gone 0 for 5, but with his scrambling tactics, he's the type of guy that can make the big play and help himself. Right now, they're having almost a double measurement to see whether or not the Vikings made it, and they made it by just a fraction of an inch to the 44-yard line as Osborne's second effort got the job done. First down and 10, Minnesota at the 44 of Kansas City. 6 minutes and 21 seconds of playing time remaining in the third quarter, and Kansas City leading it 16-0. As Cap brings it out, he has Washington wide to the left this time, Henderson to the right, on the draw play to Brown. Brown up the middle, fights his way close to the 36. And Bobby Bell is the man, the number 1 man in there, along with Buck Buchanan. Mick Tingle off the center, throwing a fine block that time. Straight up the middle. So the ball at the 36. In of 8 yards. yards on the play. 2nd down and 2 now as the Vikings get set to go. Gene Washington flanked out wide to the left. Henderson wide to the right. 2nd down and 2 at the 36-yard line of the Kansas City Chiefs. Cap with the ball, faking twice, dropping back, looking. Fires a little one over here on the 40-yard line to Brown, and Brown is inside the 30. And down he goes to the 25-yard line. And Buck Buchanan is the man. The screen that time. Jim Malone and Milt Sunday leading the blocking charge. So with the ball, we'll call it at the 25-yard line. A gain of 11 on the play, and it's 1st and 10 for Minnesota. They are at the Kansas City Chiefs 25-yard line. The deepest penetration for the Minnesota Vikings all day today. Henderson goes wide to the right. Washington to the left. The backs are split. Cap calling the signals on 1st and 10 from the 25. Fakes, rolls to the right, looking for Henderson. Fires and hits him at the 15, and out of bounds he goes over there. Jim Marcellus defending on him, and Henderson made a good move. Went down, cut back, moved a step or two back. Cap hit him beautifully with it. And he picked up about 9 yards. The ball is not quite to the 15-yard line. And we're going to get a measurement here. The clock shows 4 minutes and 42 seconds of playing time remaining in the 3rd quarter. Kansas City leading 16-0. And the Minnesota Vikings making their deepest penetration. Threatening now for really the first time in the ball game. And it's just looks like a inch or two short of the first down, Tom.
What Minnesota's doing, and this has to be a big drive for them, they're hurting the Kansas City defense with a screen, a running play. They picked up their first rushing 1st and 10 this afternoon. They're throwing to the sideline. Quarterback Cap is really keeping his poise. And the thing that makes him an outstanding quarterback is he is a leader, and those guys up front really try for him, but he has really called an outstanding series on this drive all the way to the Kansas City 15-yard line. If your defensive unit, of course, is giving your passer a considerable rush, and that's what the Chiefs have been doing, the greatest move against that, of course, is the screen to either side, and Cap has called it and has moved down there now as deep as they have been. So when play is resumed, it'll be 2nd down for Minnesota, just inches to go, short of the 15-yard line, 16-0 in favor of the Kansas City Chiefs. 4 minutes and 42 seconds of playing time left in the 3rd quarter. Out of the huddle they come, led by Mick Tingelhoff. Alderman and Yari the tackles, Malone and Sunday. Oscar Reed is in there as one of the setbacks now for the Minnesota Vikings as Cap calls the signals. Fakes, rolls out to his left, stops and throws a little wobbly one at the 10-yard line. It's caught by Reed, and Reed goes out of bounds at the 4-yard line, and it is Jim Kearney who finally forces him out of bounds over there. Oscar Reed and John Beasley, the tight end, throwing a fine block that time. But there's a good example, Tom, of the passing sometimes of Joe Cap. It looked like a wounded duck, but he got it there. And he moved to his left, and the only thing that counts is what he does, putting you get 6 points on the board and moving you downfield, and it takes a good quarterback with a strong arm to get off that 11-yard completion. All right, it is 1st down and goal to go at the 4-yard line as Joe Cap, and that defense moves in tight against him. Cap with the ball, gives it off this time to Osborne, and Osborne twists and turns and goes in for the score. And the Minnesota Vikings are on the board. Ron Yari leading the way that time. And they go 70 yards in 9 plays. And the Minnesota Vikings are on the board. They trail now 16-6. 10 plays, 70 yards, 6 on the ground for 23, and 4 in the air for 47. 70 yards in 9 plays. It'll be Fred Cox, who has converted 43 straight in the regular season, will attempt the extra point. Waiting now for the officials to signal play back in, and we're all set to go. There's the snap. The ball is up in the air, and it is good. Timeout. All on the field with the score. Kansas City 16, Minnesota 7.
Andy, isn't this the most beautiful resort you've ever seen? All that snow And those ski outfits, they're just beautiful, aren't they? You know, Andy, I sure hope all these people here put STP oil treatment in their motors. You know, so their cars will start in the morning. I mean, it would be a shame if tomorrow morning someone got in their car and it wouldn't start after all this beautiful skiing weather. And all it takes is a little can of STP oil treatment to help make sure an engine starts faster in the morning. STP is like antifreeze for an engine's oil. That's right, isn't it, Andy? Andy, are you listening to me?
What?
Andy, what are you thinking about?
Dancing.
Dancing?
Sure, come on. They're playing our song.
16-7 now as Cox sets the ball up at the 40. Back ready to receive Wendell Hayes at the far side and Bobby Holmes on the near. Crowd starts to buzz a little bit. 16-7 as the Minnesota Vikings put together their first drive of the afternoon. Here comes Cox. Good long boot. Will be taken down there by Wendell Hayes at the goal line, up to the 5, up to the 10, cuts to his outside and is hit and dumped around the 18-yard line. And we'll see now whether or not the fact that the Minnesota Vikings were able to go in for a score fires up that defensive unit a little bit. Dale Hackbart is the man who made the tackle on it. Momentum is so important in this game of football, and certainly in the first half the Kansas City Chiefs had it. They seem to be just a little bit sharper. Here in the second half, well, we'll have to wait and see. They're going to call the ball at the 18-yard line. First down and 10. Kansas City at their own 18. Lenny Austin at quarterback. I formation. Nobody wide. Now they send Pitts wide to the left and spread out Taylor a little bit to the right. Garrett and Hayes in that backfield. Here's the ball handed off to Garrett. Garrett twisting and turning, fights his way up over the 20, gets to about the 23 with it. Met there and dropped. Alan Page leading the way defensively. Big Carl Ella, number 81. Roy Winston in there at his linebacking post, along with Lonnie Warwick and Wally Hilgenberg. Eller, Larson, Page, and Marshall up front. The ball at the 23. Gain of 5 on the play. Second down and 5 to go. Kansas City at their own 23-yard line. I formation. Now the shift out of it. Arvidas goes at tight end to the left. 2 wide receivers. Otis Taylor is one of them. The draw play. The hand off to Wendell Hayes, and he gets some running room all the way up to the 28 or so. And it is Lonnie Warwick who finally closed up the hole and brought him down. And these little guys can fly. Wendell Hayes is but 6'1", weighs 220, played his college ball at Humboldt State. He can really fly. Bobby Holmes at 5'9", Mike Garrett at 5'9". And we're getting another measurement here for the first down. Looks like it'll be a first down by the length of the football, and it is. We'll call it at the 28-yard line, first down and 10. Kansas City at their own 28. 3 minutes and 8 seconds of playing time remaining here in the third quarter from Tulane Stadium in New Orleans. Holmes is in there now in the backfield in place of Mike Garrett, changed for the Kansas City Chiefs as they come out of the huddle. First down and 10 at the 28-yard line. High formation in the backfield. Here's the ball handed off. It is Garrett still in there. And he gets up over the 30 to about the 32, and Wally Hilgenberg is the man who brings him down there. Mike Garrett. Wendell Hayes, the 2 running backs for Kansas City, 21 and 38. They move away from that football. It's at the 32-yard line. Gain of 4 on the play. Second down and 6 now for Kansas City. Time remaining, 2:26 in the third period. 2 receivers wide to the right. Otis Taylor and Pitts. Now they set Wendell Hayes in the slot to the left. Flag goes down as the pass is thrown by Dawson. It's complete over there around the 35-yard line to Pitts, but as we mentioned, there was a flag on the play, and we'll get an illegal procedure call against the Kansas City Chiefs, I feel sure. Dave Hill moved a little quickly, Tom, along that line just before the ball was snapped.
he did in Kansas City that time, went to a triple wing to the far side, and what they tried to do there is get Minnesota out of a zone defense. They accomplished that with the right tackle moved, and Dave Hill gets 5 yards. One thing about Kansas City on this drive, they're to keep it alive. Kansas City has been very effective when they run. They like to run first and pass second. And on this drive, they picked up consistently gains of 4, 5 yards by Mike Garrett and Wendell Hayes. But here comes the 5-yard mark-off against the Chiefs, moving the ball back to the 27-yard line. And bringing up a 2nd down and 11 for Kansas City at their own 27. 2 minutes, 14 seconds left to play here. This great crowd of over 81,000 now, bathed in sunshine, watching the action. High formation, 2nd and 11 from the 27. The draw play, the handed off to Wendell Hayes. Hayes is caught from behind on a nice play by Laurie Warwick, the middle linebacker, but he gets the ball up close to the 31, and they'll mark it as the 32. Gain of 5 on the play, so it is 3rd down now. 3rd and 6. Ball not quite to the 32-yard line. Long 6. 3rd down, and here's that key play again for Lenny Dawson. Brings him out over the huddle. E.J. Hollow out of the ball. Fakes once, gives it on that reverse again to Pitts. Pitts coming to his right to the 35, and it's finally knocked out of bounds. But not until he gets all the way up close to the 38 or 39-yard line by Ursel McBee. And that play has been a most effective one, Tom, for the Kansas City Chiefs. And as you pointed out earlier in the broadcast, they evidently have had considerable success with it during the course of the regular season. They've always had great success with this play. I think the only team that really stopped them much were the Oakland Raiders. With that end-around play to Frank Pitts today has gained Kansas City another 1st and 10. Kansas City 6 1st and 10 rushing this afternoon. And Frank Pitts is so effective, he and Otis Taylor, because they both have outstanding speed. Pitts runs a 100-yard dash in 9.5. Hank Stram charts all these plays, and he figures this play normally is worth about 10 yards a crack. And so Dawson has picked up now on those key 3rd down situations 5 out of 10, and he has it 1st and 10 at his own 39-yard line. 1:39 remaining in the 3rd quarter, 16-7, Kansas City leading. Pitts is wide to the right, Taylor to the left. Dawson going long and deep, and it is no good. Too long. Covering on the play over there was Eddie Sherrockman, who went all the way back with Frank Pitts. Frank Pitts, incidentally, who's alma mater's band, Southern University, entertaining here. We're getting a flag on the play. We'll wait and see what this is all about. Appears against the Minnesota Vikings, and it is. Well, there's a good break now for the Kansas City Chiefs. The penalty against Minnesota will move the ball down into the Viking territory around the 47-yard line. Waiting for the official sign. Illegal use of the hands against the Minnesota Vikings. Putting the ball at the 47-yard line. 1st down. 1st and 10. The Chiefs at the Minnesota 47. Here's a quick toss over here on the flat to Otis Taylor. And Taylor breaks the tackle. He's at the 15, at the 20, at the 10. 5 touchdown. 37 yards he goes after the pass completion. Herschel McBee and Charles Suzuki tried to make the play on him. But Otis Taylor broke the tackle and went in for the score. 47 yards. And the Kansas City Chiefs lead it 22-7 as they go 82 yards in 6 plays. Bob, that was a fine grab by Taylor. It's what they call a hitch pattern. He caught the ball at the 40-yard line. The cornerback overplayed him, and when Taylor caught the ball, he figures any time he can get a half a stride on the cornerback with his speed, he's so big and strong, he can take it in. And he simply was able to run that foot race down the near sideline, and the Chiefs now have gotten another touchdown on the board, and they're now going to try to put up another with Jan Stenerud, and the Chiefs, with Otis Taylor, the bomb threat, have just gone 47 yards to score. All set now. Dawson will hold as Stenerud gets set for the PAT. Placed down up in the air, and it is good. So there is timeout called on the field. With the score now, Kansas City 23, Minnesota 7. What a good time. What a good time. What a good time for a kid. Catching sunbeams or catching raindrops.
times invented for the good taste of gents, or was it the other way around? All we know is wherever the good times are, millions of smokers are thinking, hey, what a good time for a gent. What a good time for a gent.
All set to go. Back at the action. 23-7 is the score here. Jan Stenerud ready to kick. Bill Harris and Clint Jones in the deep spots for the Vikings. Good long boot. Clint Jones is going to take it. Grabs it at the 4. Goes to his right up to the 15, up to the 20, up to the 25. Goes to the outside, up over the 35-yard line and down at the 36. Fine run back by Clint Jones. And Willie Mitchell is the man who finally brought him down. Clint Jones, who can really fly. Placed down at the 36-yard line, where it'll be first down and 10. Minnesota at their own 36. 23-7. 32 yards on that kick return. Oscar Reed in there, one of the running back spots. The set is to the weak side, to the left. Two wide receivers, Henderson along with Gene Washington. A long count. Cat gives it off to Oscar Reed, and Oscar Reed doesn't find much running room. He's pulled down. And big Aaron Brown in there to grab all of them. Along with Buck Buchanan. And we'll give him a yard on the play to the 37, second down and 9 to go. At Kansas City defense. Strong and equal to the task here this afternoon. Second down and 9. Minnesota at their own 37-yard line. As Cap grabs and drops back in the pocket. Looks. Fires it down there to Henderson. And Henderson has got it around his own 49. And they force him back. And they'll mark the forward progress of the ball is around the 47. And Jim Marcellus wrestles Henderson back. But they move it up to the 47-yard line. 10 yards. And it should be a first down. It is. And that is the end of the quarter. The end of the third period with the score. Kansas City 23, Minnesota 7.
Here's another question for Shell's Answer Man.
My brother and I both have the same model car, and we both use Super Shell. But his car still gets a little better mileage than mine. Am I stuck with a lemon?
No two cars are truly identical, but chances are yours isn't a lemon. Although you both drive the same model and both use Super Shell, you're two different drivers. And probably you drive under different conditions, sometimes even in different climates. So even if you traded cars with your brother, you'd probably still get less mileage than he would. Next question, please.
I read an ad about some new gadget that can give any car 25 or more miles per gallon. What about it?
Somebody's always coming out with another miracle invention that's supposed to increase mileage. Some of these gadgets rely mainly on wishful thinking. If one really worked, car manufacturers would snap it up in no time. So for good mileage, depend on a good gasoline, like Super Shell.
Thank you. The Answer Man is brought to you by Super Shell, good mileage gasoline.
All set now, 15 minutes left. Joe Cap completing 13 out of 19 for 149 yards. Lenny Dawson, 11 out of 16, 149 yards. First down and 10, Minnesota at their own 47. Cap calling the signals, has Henderson wide to the left. Ball is handed off this time to Osborne. Osborne running to his left, trying to get a block. Breaks away from one man, and it's grabbed by the jersey and finally forced out of bounds on the 49-yard line by Willie Lanier. Dave Osborne at the 49. Second down and 6. 4 on the play. The Vikings ball. Chuck Hurston now, number 85, comes into that defensive unit for the Kansas City Chiefs. 5-year veteran from Auburn. Second down and 6, Minnesota at the 49-yard line of the Chiefs. The ball handed off this time to Oscar Reed, and Reed gets it up to about the 47, picking up about 2. And Willie Lanier and Jerry Mays were in on the defensive tackle, and coming back into the lineup now, big Aaron Brown, and coming out of there, Chuck Hurston. Change defensively for the Chiefs at the 47. Third down. Ball is actually between the 46 and 47. with third down. And a short 4 to go for the first down. As Cap goes back again. Big play for him. He spots somebody down there, fires the ball. It's intercepted at the 35-yard line by Willie Lanier. And Willie Lanier is hauled out as he gets it back to his own 44. Another turnover. As Willie Lanier stepped in front of the intended receiver, John Beasley, and picked it off and run it back. And so once again, the alert defense of the Kansas City Chiefs taking over the football. Willie Lanier intercepted that pass. That's the fourth turnover against the Vikings. It was set up on a strong rush, and Lanier is an outstanding middle linebacker. He's picked off 4 passes this year, and then he can run to the outside, drop back in the hook zone. You know when you're trading by 16 points, 23-7 like the Vikings are, they've got to throw. Lanier has done that against the New York Jets and the Oakland Raiders just like that. All right, it is first down and 10. Kansas City now at their own 43-yard line. One wide receiver. Here's Dawson faking, dropping back, looking. A screen over here to Pitts. Pitts has got it and is hit immediately at around the 35, and there'll be a loss on the play. Ed Schrockman coming in to make the tackle on the screen that time to Frank Pitts. And there's a loss on the play. We'll call the ball to 35, about 8 yards, and it's second down now at 18. Kansas City at their own 35-yard line. The ball actually between the 35 and 36. We have 13 minutes and 14 seconds of playing time remaining here in this ball game. Kansas City 23, Minnesota 7. Here come the Chiefs over the ball. Lenny Dawson at quarterback. High formation. One man in the slot, the ball, a quick handoff to McVay, and McVay fights his way close to the 40-yard line, picking up close to 5 yards. And Roy Winston, from his left linebacking position, making the tackle on him. Coming in the lineup now for Minnesota, Dale Hackbart, number 49, defensively, as Lenny Dawson went over to the sidelines to talk to his coach, Hank Stram. And as Hackbart comes in, they take Gary Larson out of there at his defensive tackle spot to bring in the defensive halfback here. On this obvious passing situation, it is third down and about 12 to go. Ball right about the 40-yard line, and Lenny Dawson has 2 receivers wide to the right, sends McVay in motion to his left, pitches off to him, and McVay doesn't find any running room, and down he goes. Right around the 40, and Wally Hilgenberg is the man in there, along with Jim Marshall. And so the Kansas City Chiefs will have to punt now. Coming in to receive the punt, Charlie West, number 40, and Bob Grimm, number 27. They're dropping back inside their own 20-yard line. And Gerald Wilson, fine punter, will do the punting. Here on fourth down, still 12 to go for the first down. Wilson standing at his 25 will boot it from around the 30. Gets his kick away, a boomer over the head of West, and it goes into the end zone and out of the field of play. And did he kick that one? 60 yards. In fact, he kicked it right out of Jefferson County. He got the longest kick in the AFL this year of 64 yards. He kicked one at nearly 70 yards against the Atlanta Falcons one crazy night. He has an outstanding kicking leg, Bob. The only thing that brings his average down, he normally will shank a kick every 2 ball games, but he got into that kick again. Today he's had kicks of 44, 55 yards, and that long distance one, putting the Vikings back to their own 20-yard line. If I was a coach, I'd let him shank a couple anytime. He can go them like that. First down at 10 at the 20. Oscar Reed is in at one of the running back spots. Cap dropping straight back, looking, rolling out to his left now, still looking, fires at the last moment at the 18-yard line to Oscar Reed. A flag goes down as he's hauled down at the 21. And the pressure that time was on. And Cap had to get rid of it. Big Buck Buchanan was in there along with Jerry Mays. Question here remains whether or not the Minnesota Vikings might have had an illegal receiver downfield on. We'll wait and see. But Jerry Mays at his defensive end spot, and Buck Buchanan. That was it. And so here's the penalty being stepped off from the 20. Half the distance down to the 10. Was it, an ineligible receiver downfield. Moving the ball now back to the 10-yard line, and the Minnesota Vikings, trailing as they are 23-7, are deep in their own territory. Cap is 13 out of 20. First down and 20 now to go. The ball at the 10 of the Minnesota Vikings. Henderson is wide to the right. Washington to the left. And here's Cap with it. Dropping back to the 1-yard line. Staying in the pocket and throwing the long bomb for Henderson. And Henderson cannot make the play at around the 49-yard because Jim Marcellus was right there with him. And the Kansas City Chiefs, Tom, continue to have that great coverage on the receiver. They not only had outstanding double coverage, but they had, again, that strong rush right up the middle by Buck Buchanan. Buck Buchanan has had his finest ball game to date. He played brilliantly in New York against the Jets, but today he's not only gotten the Cap twice, 2 other times he has forced him to throw. And he was talking before the game. He said the big thing you've got to do is have real good pressure and Cap up the middle. He said if the Chiefs defense does not get that job done, we won't be able to succeed. And he, along with Curly Culp, has succeeded in that particular phase of the game well this afternoon. All right, it is second down at 20 to go now. The ball still at the 10-yard line. Henderson wide to the right. Back goes Cap, looking now for somebody. Fires it down here to Henderson, and Henderson makes a great catch up to 26. Gets away from one man, fights his way up over the 30. They try to pull the ball away from him. He gets up over the 35, all the way to the 37-yard line. Great second effort that time by Henderson. Boy, Henderson made a fine catch, and then he got that additional 15 yards for a 27-yard pickup. And we have seen the Vikings get that second effort today from Henderson and the running back Dave Osborne. And so the Vikings have a first and 10, and with 10:42 to play in the game, our score is Kansas City 23, the Vikings 7. But a tremendous second effort that time by Henderson, and he's gone out of there now, and Bob Grimm has come in to take his place. It's first and 10, Minnesota at their own 37. A fake, and Cap rolls to the left, looking for somebody. Going for Beasley, and it is intercepted at the 42-yard line, and the man is pulled down around the 49. Johnny Robinson it is. And once again, another turnover. An interception by Johnny Robinson, who did not expect, wasn't sure that he'd even play in this one because of that sore rib cage of his, but he was Johnny Robinson on the spot that time. 5th turnover today with the Vikings, their 3rd interception. Johnny Robinson didn't even practice for this ball game until Friday. He went to a heart specialist here in the Crescent City, and they were able to give him some painkillers. Well, there's timeout called in the field with a score. Kansas City 23, the Minnesota Vikings 7.
Ta-ta! The following is an animated radio commercial. The reason for that is I'm a car, and cars only talk when they're animated. Right now, I'd like to talk to all you other cars out there about keeping in shape this winter. You know, I used to be one of your typical slow winter starters, really got turned off by those bitter cold mornings. And once I got moving, I still felt cold and choked up. Just didn't have the old pep when I needed it. Then one miserably cold day, I ran across a billboard that said,
STP gas treatment. You'll feel the difference.
That's right, billboards talk too on animated radio. Anyway, my owner got the message, and I got a whole new outlook on winter. STP gasoline treatment gets me fired up fast in the mornings. STP gasoline treatment keeps me pouring out the power all winter long, too. Really turns me into a red-hot winter performer, which might be kind of hard for you to visualize without color radio. So take a tip from a car that knows. Have your owner give you a fresh new start on winter with STP gas treatment.
You'll feel the difference with the very first can.
Back into the action here now is the Kansas City Chiefs. 5 turnovers, 3 interceptions, and 2 fumbles, carrying it to the Minnesota Vikings. First down at 10 for Kansas City, their own 49-yard line. Lenny Dawson at quarterback. At I formation in the backfield. Everybody in tight now. They send Pitts out wide to the left. Hayes and McVay are the setbacks, and here's Dawson giving it to McVay. McVay is caught from behind and dropped for a loss. And it is Lonnie Warwick who fought through there that time to grab Warren McVay and bring him down. At the 48, a loss of a yard, second down and 11. 10 minutes and 4 seconds of playing time remaining here from the Super Bowl. Kansas City Chiefs, anywhere from 11 to 13-point underdogs, leading at 23-7 here. And they have done it with the foot of John Stannarud, the great punting of Gerald Wilson, and ball control and field position control. Second and 11 at the 48 for Dawson. He has Pitts wide. The ball given off to McVay. McVay trying to turn the corner, gives a good fake, a good move, gets by 2 men, And the second man finally hangs on and brings him down over the midfield stripe, down into Viking territory at the 48, and it's Ed Schrockman. Warren McVeigh, who, when he went to school at the University of Houston, had his own car and his own valet and his own barber and his own entourage who traveled with him. And he said, if you're going to go, you might as well go first class. The 47-yard line of the Minnesota Vikings. And it is third down. About 6 to go for the first down. Out of the huddle now come the Chiefs. E.J. Holub over the ball. Pitts is wide. Here's the handoff to McVeigh again, and McVeigh is dropped this time. And it is Roy Winston in there to make the stop on him just about behind the scrimmage. We'll pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the CBS Radio Network.
This is Dan Sorkin, the Answer Man, from 9 to noon for the original Amateur Minute and some other funny stuff on KSFO in San Francisco.
Fourth down, and the Chiefs now will be forced to punt with 4th and 7. And once again, Gerald Wilson back there. He'll kick this one from around his own 41. A line drive shot, grabbed there at the 12-yard line by West, and West is hit and dumped right around the 17 as the Kansas City Chiefs specialty right down there fast to make the stop. So we'll see where they put the football. At the 19-yard line. Caesar Belzer in there on the specialty team, making the stop. First down and 10. Minnesota at the 19-yard line. 7:47 left. 23-7 as Cap grabs the ball, fakes, rolls to his left, stops, fires in the flat to Washington. Washington makes the catch, and out of bounds he goes at the 28-yard line. Emmett Thomas over there. About 9 yards on the play. Caesar Belzar, who plays on the specialty teams, was just activated for this game today. Not quite the first down. Second down and about a half a yard to go. That's all for the first down. The ball is at the 28-yard line. The Minnesota 28. Henderson wide to the right. Washington wide to the left. Cap with the ball, gives it to Oscar Reed, and Oscar Reed is grabbed around the waist by Aaron Brown and made a great defensive play. Just reached over the blocker and grabbed him and wrestled him down. There's quite an athlete right there. Jerry Mays was talking about him before the game, and he said the thing that makes him such a fine football player is, he says, his size, his speed, and he is so intelligent. He used to be a former high school football down at Port Arthur, Texas. Went to the University of Minnesota, was an offensive and defensive end, and is so tough, he played in a ball game with a fractured jaw and played the entire ball game against the Missouri Tigers. And he has really come to the fore the last 2 years as a standout defensive end. All right, we've got a third down now. About 2.5 yards to go for the first down at the 26-yard line of the Minnesota Vikings. 6:55 left to play here as Cap grabs the ball. Rolls out with a good fake, fires it at the 29-yard line to Reed, and Reed slips and falls right there. Oscar Reed taking the little pass from Cap, but as he tried to turn, slipped and fell, but he got the first down to the 29-yard line. So it's another first down for the Minnesota Vikings at their own 29-yard line. 6 minutes, 28 seconds of playing time remaining here with Kansas City out in front, 23-7. They led at the end of the first quarter, 3-0 on a 48-yard field goal by Jan Stenerud. Stenerud kicked 2 more in the second period, and Garrett scored a touchdown to make it 16-0 at halftime. Vikings scored theirs in the third period. And the Chiefs came back to score also in the third. It is now 1st and 10 at the 29. Cap rolling to his left. The pressure is on, and Aaron Brown has got it. He fumbles the ball down there. There's a scramble for it on the sideline. We'll have to wait and see who got it. And Cap is a little slow getting up now. The Vikings retain possession. But big Aaron Brown went barreling in there and really gave Mr. Cap a knock, rang a few bells that time. You know, last week in the game against Oakland, he got to Darryl LaMonica 3 times and put him out of commission, and somebody in a Kansas City newspaper very cleverly put decapitate the Vikings. Well, that's pretty much the defensive game plan to contain a quarterback like Joe Cap, and you've just seen 2 outstanding plays back-to-back by Aaron Brown. And now defensively, Kansas City making a change. Curly Culp comes out, another defensive back moves on the field. That'll be Willie Mitchell, but Kansas City's line can now just fire in to try to get to the quarterback, dropping back the throw. Well, Joe Cap is out of there now, and Gary Quazzo has come in to take his place with the ball at the 16-yard line. 2nd and 24. The ball handed off to Oscar Reed. He gets a little running room, fights his way up over 25, breaks the tackle, goes to the outside, over the 30 and down at the 32. Emmett Thomas, the man who finally brought him down. That's Gary Quazzo replacing Joe Cap. After Aaron Brown had given him a knock on that previous play, Quazzo in now running the ball club at quarterback with the ball at the Minnesota Viking 32-yard line. And it is 3rd down. 3rd and 9. Big play here for young Gary Quazzo, formerly with with Baltimore. Jim Lindsay is in there now, and back goes Quazzo to throw, looking, firing down. He's got Henderson at the 46-yard line of Minnesota, and Henderson is knocked down by Jim Kearney at the 48. And that will be another 1st down for Minnesota at their own 48-yard line. 16 yards on the play, 4 minutes and 29 seconds of playing time remaining as the clock continues to run. Minnesota 1st down and 10 at their own 48-yard line, and Kansas City leading it 23-7. Quazzo brings him out. He has Henderson wide to the right, Washington to the left, fakes a handoff to Osborne, rolls out to his left, fires it too long, out of bounds, the intended receiver, Gene Washington. And once again, that fine defense of Kansas City putting the pressure on, and Quazzo threw it before actually he wanted to. Brings up a 2nd down and 10 now at the 48-yard line of Minnesota. 4 minutes and 10 seconds left here in this, the Super Bowl, with the Kansas City Chiefs well in control and leading it 23-7. Mick Tinglehoff over the ball. Henderson is the flanker wide to the right. Washington again is to the left. And Gary Quazzo at quarterback, looking over that defense, which is just a 4-man. And he goes back to throw, rolling to his left. Lobs one down here, and it's picked off around the 29-yard line by Emmett Thomas. Back to the 30, and down he goes at the 35-yard line, and making the tackle on him, Bill Brown. And another turnover. That's the 4th interception. Emmett Thomas led the American Football League in that, especially with 9. Johnny Robinson made the comment the other day against the Jets when he picked one off in that game. He's come alive. Well, there's timeout call on the field with a score. Kansas City 23, the Minnesota Vikings 7.
So how do you get to the office? A bus. How about you? My mother. I'd get a car, but my part-time job just isn't paying. Well, I'm looking at Ford's new Maverick. It's only $19.95. $19.95? Oh, wow. I didn't...
If you're young, starting out and ready to move, Maverick is a lot less expensive than it looks. You see, your Ford dealer is fighting the price rise, and Maverick is still $19.95, the same as it was when it was introduced last April. Of course, since dealer preparation charges, if any transportation charges and state and local taxes vary, they're not included, nor is extra equipment required by state laws. But the base price of Maverick ready to roll is still $19.95. Maverick, the simple machine that's so easy to own, even a girl can do a lot of the routine maintenance herself. And even though Maverick is lower and wider for greater stability, it still turns a tighter circle than the leading small import. Maverick, still $19.95. If you think you can't afford a new car, you can't afford not to see your Ford dealer. He's fighting the price rise.
Here at Tulane Stadium in New Orleans, Bob Reynolds along with Tom Hedrick. Looking across the way at the Minnesota bench, Joe Cap hurt on the play when Aaron Brown really racked him up. They're working over him over there. And so with their 4th interception now, Kansas City has the ball 1st and 10 of their own 34-yard line with 4 minutes left to play in this ball game. Otis Taylor is wide to the right. McVay and Hayes are the setbacks. And here's Dawson faking and dropping back, rolling out. Going to have to run with the ball this time, but they don't like that with those bad knees. And he's hit at the 45. Alan Page, number 1 in there to hit it. Along with Wally Hilgenberg, and he'll get it to the 45-yard line. 11 yards and a first down. Lenny Dawson running with the football that time, and I imagine that Hank Stram, when that happens over there, just sucks in his breath a little bit, because with those bad knees, that's dangerous stuff. When he got hurt Thanksgiving Day, Lenny said that Hank Stram called him at 6 o'clock in the morning to check how that knee was. He's had a great day here today. First down and 10 now, Kansas City at their own 45-yard line. 3 minutes and 13 seconds of playing time left. High formation now, the shift. Taylor wide to the right. Pitts wide to the left. Dawson taking his time now. Handing the ball off this time is Wendell Hayes taking the handoff, and Lonnie Warwick is the man who makes the stop on him. And there's a loss on the play. About a yard back to the 44, brings up a second down and 11 to go at the 44-yard line of Kansas City in possession of the Chiefs. Dawson carried 3 times today for 11 yards, averaging 3.7 per carry. That's pretty good for Lenny. But he's had a great day in the air. The defensive unit of the Kansas City Chiefs has just, well, there's no question about it. They've been superb here today. 12 out of 17 in the air for 141 yards. Dawson's passing percentage. Second down on 11 for him now at his own 44. The shift sending Otis Taylor wide to the right and Pitts to the left. Dawson handing off to McVay. McVay twists his turns, gets up to about the 44, back to the line of scrimmage. And Roy Winston is the man who makes the stop on it. No gain on the play. Bring up a third down and 11 at the 44-yard line. And there is the 2-minute warning to both benches here. 2 minutes left in this, the 69 Super Bowl game, as the underdog Kansas City Chiefs gaining the early edge, the early momentum, keeping it all the way. Don't forget that over most of these CBS radio network stations, the Pro Bowl from Los Angeles Coliseum will be coming your way next Sunday, January 18th. We hope you'll join us for that. We've talked a lot about the people up front offensively and defensively for Kansas City. Kansas City's front four came into this ball game not heralded like the Four Norsemen when they meet a quarterback, but actually all 4 men have been honored in postseason competition. Buchanan made All-AFL. Curly Culp made the Western All-Star team. Aaron Brown and Jerry Mays both made second-string Sporting News All-AFL. But Lenny Dawson has responded like a champion. Lenny Dawson has faced adversity before and a lot of pressure. Some of his finest ball games this year have come under pressure. Recall 2 months ago, he went to Shea Stadium. His father had died on a Friday. He came back to throw for 285 yards. He completed 28 passes, good for 3 touchdowns, and he's responded like a champion here this afternoon. Anytime the Chiefs have a big day, Dawson's on target. The Chiefs have rushed for over 115 yards on the ground, and Lenny Dawson, as you noted, is 12 for 17 for 141 yards through the air lanes. And the 5 turnovers in the third down situations, Kansas City is still 5 for 11 on third down. The Vikings 3 out of 9. Kansas City has rushed for 138 yards against the Purple People Eaters here today. Third down and 11 now for Dawson at his own 44. 2 minutes left. He rolls out to the right. The rush is on, and Carl Eller is the man who gets him, and he's hit secondarily by Alan Page, and the flag goes down, and we're going to get a penalty here. A personal foul penalty to be called against the Minnesota Vikings, I'm sure, as Alan Page made a secondary effort after Carl Eller had hit him. Both benches have erupted, but karma heads will prevail. And the Kansas City Chiefs now move back to the sidelines on their own side as Hank Stram, the coach of Kansas City, went out there along with Bud Grant from the Vikings to sort of calm things down. It was Carl Eller who made the initial contact, and then Alan Page, a little late, came in. The penalty will be stepped off against the Vikings, and the ball will go to the 46-yard line of Minnesota. And there's the signal, a personal foul call against the Vikings. 6 penalties for 67 yards against Minnesota. So with the ball at the 46-yard line now of Minnesota, it will be a 1st and 10 for the Kansas City Chiefs. A minute and 53 left, and the 1969 Super Bowl will be history. And they'll talk about it, I'll tell you, for a long time after this. The Kansas City Chiefs as much as 2 touchdown underdogs on occasion, have completely dominated this one here today. First down and 10 for Kansas City at the 46 of Minnesota. The I formation and the shift out of it now. McVay and Hayes are the backs. Frank Pitts is flanked. The ball is handed off to McVay. Twists away from one man. Tries to turn the corner. Gets it down to the 41. And Jim Marshall is the man who makes the tackle on him there. The little speedster, Warren McVay, 5'9", 182 in his second year. Graduate of Houston, who going into this ball game had carried the ball regular season-wise only 7 times for 71 yards. And he's been a factor here today, and the ball at the 41. Dawson leads the ball game for Kansas City. He is graded by his #1 fan, Coach Hank Stram, and Mike Livingston, who led Kansas City to 4 victories, comes in the ball game, the AFL's #4 passer. Second down and 5 now as Mike Livingston takes over at quarterback at the 41. He gives the ball off. Wally Hilgenberg is the man who makes the tackle. Wendell Hayes, who took the handoff. Wendell's a little slow getting up, but Bobby Holmes, number 45, comes in there. And Emmett Thomas, who was hurt earlier in the season, goes in to help Wendell Hayes out. And now going into the lineup now is Ed Polak, number 14 for Kansas City, with the ball at the 37-yard line. And it is third down and a yard to go for the Chiefs at the Viking 37-yard line. I formation. The ball handed off to Holmes, and Holmes fights his way close to the 30-yard line. And Lonnie Warwick finally brings him down. 20 seconds left to play in this one. And the Kansas City Chiefs are just seconds away. And down below us, Hank Stram is being lifted onto the shoulders of some of his players along the sidelines. 9 seconds left, and they may not get another play underway. I don't believe they're going to. They are not going to get another play underway, and Hank Stram is just being taken off onto the field to greet his victorious Kansas City Chiefs, who did the job here today. The gun goes off, the end of the game, and we'll be back with a wrap-up in just a moment.
Here's another question for Shell's Answer Man.
My husband keeps bawling me out for resting my left foot on the brake pedal when I drive. He says it hurts mileage. Does it?
Your husband knows what he's scolding about. Every time you use your brake pedal for a footrest, it causes drag and hurts mileage because your engine uses up more gasoline. Your brakes also overheat and wear out faster. So to get better mileage and to calm your husband, use Super Shell and rest your foot on the floor. Next question, please.
A few years ago, Shell used to advertise an ingredient called TCP. Is it still in Super Shell?
Very much so. TCP is an additive patented by Shell that helps keep your spark plugs from fouling and misfiring, which can waste gasoline. TCP is one of several good mileage ingredients in Super Shell. Although you may not hear about them as much as Platformate, they're right in there working for you.
Thank you. The Answer Man is brought to you by Super Shell, good mileage gasoline.
Back at Tulane Stadium in New Orleans, Hank Stram and his victorious Kansas City Chiefs go to the sidelines now and head to the locker room. The Minnesota Vikings, thoroughly handled here today by Kansas City, are already off the field. And I think, Tom, that the summation of this ball game can best perhaps be stated in turnovers. The fact that the Kansas City defense picked off 4 passes, picked up 2 fumbles, and you just can't turn the ball over that many times to a fine professional football team without it hurting you. It did here today to the Minnesota Vikings. Kansas City Chiefs, on the other hand, came ready to play. I'm sure the Vikings did too. But when Kansas City jumped off to that 3-0 lead in the first period on the leg of Jan Stenerud, it seemed to give them the added incentive, the added momentum perhaps that they needed to carry on, and carry on they did. They did, and I think the big one was one on that 19-yard play. You remember the 19-yard line, the fumble, and then Kansas City got the 5-yard touchdown. That gave Kansas City control of the game. Like the Vikings, like any good defensive team, once you get control of the game, then you have the upper hand. The Vikings came back. They were able to go downfield to make it 16-7, and then Kansas City got the 47-yard bomb to Taylor, and it's all over. And anytime you talk about a victory, you don't just talk about the quarterback, you talk about those people up front. And I think you know to the big thing, the turnovers. There were, I think, officially now, they've said 3 interceptions by Kansas City, 2 fumbles, and only 1 interception by the Chiefs. That's the biggest tail of the game. Just to briefly recap the scoring, Stenerud got the Chiefs off out in front of the first period with a 48-yard field goal, which was a new Super Bowl record, incidentally, held previously by Chandler of Green Bay, set in 1968, of 43 yards. And then in the second period, Stenerud added 2 more. One of 33 to make it 6-0, another of 25 to make it 9-0. And then with 5:34 to go in the half from the 5-yard line, Garrett getting a great block from his front line, just sprinted through for the 5 yards and the touchdown as they went 19 yards in 6 plays after the recovery of that fumble. And when Stenerud converted and made it 16-0, that was about all she wrote. In the third period, the Minnesota Vikings made their really only concerted drive of the day when they moved 70 yards in 10 plays and sent Osborne across from the 4-yard line for the touchdown, and Cox converted, and it was 16-7. But the Kansas City Chiefs, not to be denied, it was their day today, came right back and went 82 yards in 6 plays, 5 of them on the ground for 25 yards, and the big one, the 47-yard touchdown pass from Lenny Dawson to Odie Taylor, 47 yards, and Stenerud converted to make it 23-7, and that's the way it ended. This American Football League, National Football League World Championship Super Bowl was carried to you across the nation by CBS Radio, and to our men in uniform around the world by the Armed Forces Radio Service. And don't forget that over most of these CBS Radio Network stations, we'll have the Pro Bowl from Los Angeles Coliseum for you next Sunday, January 18th. Kansas City had 5 more first and 10s, 18-13. Kansas City had 295 yards of total offense. Dawson 11 for 17, 141. Cap and Quazzo 17 for 28 for 199 passing. But Kansas City had 147 yards rushing, and the Vikings had only 78. I'd like to thank our crew today. Walt Dell, who kept our statistics. Steve Cook, who did our spotting. George Groh of radio station WWL here in New Orleans. And our producer has been George Perkins. Our broadcast was sponsored in part by STB Oil and Gas Treatment, by your Ford Motor Company, by Kent Cigarettes, and by Shell Gasoline. The final score, Kansas City 23, Minnesota Vikings 7. This is Tom Hendricks saying so long for Bob Reynolds and myself from Tulane Stadium here in New Orleans. This is the CBS Radio Network.